Lovely.
Yeah.
Nice.
I thought we were going for a little paddle, but we ended up...
Do you be sore after that? Do you know your biceps and triceps?
Are you? My bum.
Your bum sore?
Thighs, my back.
Could you not wear cycling shorts? Do you know the wee padded boys?
I don't have the legs.
No?
Or the rear.
You don't have a cushion with you? Imagine a big cushion.
Someone said to me
recliner seat on the kayak.
I wore a pair of shorts once, and someone said to me I'd legs like chipsticks.
You scared the fish?
So no, you've seen
the fish would jump out of the water. See, if you dangle your toes in the water,
bigger legs hanging out of a nest. So I have to do some. I have to do some leg work.
That would be a picture. We don't see them pictures on Facebook, do we?
No, you don't want to see my milk bottles.
No, you're all right. Have a good show.
All right, see you, Lee. That's Lee Gooch. Back with you tomorrow morning, of course, 6:30 on what will be, and we know, a bright and sunny morning, because that's the way it's going to be for the next week at least. Okay, let's get a news update, and it's crossing over now to Michaela Clark.
Thanks, Greg. Good morning. The man killed in a fatal workplace incident in Donegal has been named locally as Stephen Montgomery from the Dunfanaghy area. Investigations are continuing today into the explosion outside Bunbeg yesterday afternoon. Ellen Butler has more.
Garda and the Health and Safety Authority are trying to piece together what exactly led to Mr Montgomery's death. It's understood he was clearing rock in the Bloody Forelands area of Bunbeg in West Donegal. He was operating machinery at the time of the explosion. Emergency services rushed to the scene, including the Defence Force's bomb disposal experts, and the area was evacuated. Condolences were relayed at a meeting of Donegal County Council yesterday, where a minute's silence was also held. Investigations are continuing.
A man remains in a serious condition in hospital following a crash in Manor Cunningham yesterday evening. Garda and emergency services attended the scene of the collision involving a car and the motorcycle shortly after 5:15 at Galdonna. The motorcyclist, who is in his 30s, was taken by ambulance to Letterkenny University Hospital, while the driver and passenger in the car were also taken to hospital for medical assessment. Garda say inquiries are ongoing. Donegal County Council has been told that it is absolutely crazy if a proposed wind farm development in West Donegal receives planning. Clogheracor Wind Farm Limited has submitted an application to Bord Pleanála for the wind energy development in the Guibara area. There's fears that the go-ahead could result in a repeat of the Mean Bog landslide, with concern also raised over the potential risk posed to the drinking water supply and the development impeding on nearby special areas of designation. Councillor Mary-Therese Gallagher says there are many unanswered questions also around how the building of the development will work logistically.
People need to know that the application that's in there, it's the blade, one of the blades is 165 metres. It's 500 feet, and it has to be transported. They're talking about building, roads up the sides of mountains and through SACs and all of this here. A lot of those things weren't in the submission by the council. So what we've asked is that it's strengthened. We've had assurances that it will be, and all of those issues will be raised.
Some parents are paying a voluntary contribution of up to €550 a year to schools. A new survey from St Vincent de Paul has found 87% of parents have had to cut back or delay spending in order to pay it. The average amount is €140 per child, with school principals saying they're forced to rely on them because of a lack of funding. Director of the National Association of Principals and Deputy Principals, Paul Crone, says regulating how much schools ask for could be something to look at.
I spoke to one principal last night, asked, do you charge, in a deaf school, do you charge a voluntary contribution? And she said to me, under no circumstances would I charge a voluntary contribution. The parents wouldn't have it, they'd be putting them under pressure. So in reality, yes, I'd say that there probably is a need to have that discussion.
Weather now dry today with warm sunshine and a little patchy cloud. Highest temperatures of between 18 and 23 degrees. That's all from Highland Radio News for now. We'll be back with news again at 10 o'clock. Until then, good morning.
The McPlant. What? 100% vegan? Even the cheese? But how? Can't be. Can it?
It really is. The McPlant from McDonald's, with melt-in-the-mouth vegan cheese, a delicious sesame-seeded bun, vegan mayo and a juicy Beyond Meat patty. It's our iconic taste, plant-based. Served after 11 a.m, subject to availability.
The county's #1 talk show, The 9 till Noon Show on Highland Radio. And now, it's time for the talk of the Northwest. The 9 till Noon Show with Greg Hughes on Highland Radio.
Hello and a very good morning to you. 4 minutes past 9, Tuesday the 30th of May 2023. How are you keeping? You're all well, are you? Roll call? Good. Good. I hope you are anyway. And I hope you're with us now for the next 3 hours on the 9 till noon show. Loads coming up. Different stuff, of course, will be across all the main news stories. We're going to be talking to about barbecuing. We talked about it yesterday. We have a chef coming on. Have you any questions about barbecuing or something a little bit different or whatever it might be? Making coleslaw. How do you make coleslaw? I don't know. I buy it. I'd like to make it. How do you do it? I might ask the chef that. Who's to say if I remember? Potato salad. That would be nice too, wouldn't it? Anyway, we're going to be talking about all things outside culinary. And you can get your questions in too now, by the way, on 086 60 25,000. WhatsApps and texts, that's the number for all of your interactions with us today. If you want to give us a call, it's 07491 25,000, 07491 25,000. As I said to Lee there, we were at kayaking yesterday. Beautiful. Did you do anything nice that you want to share with us? Any recommendations for people who want to do something outsidey, if you know what I mean, whilst the weather is good and if they're in good enough health to do so? You can give us a call to an 07491 25,000, 07491 25,000, and email us on comments at highlandradio.com. Right, let's look at the newspapers for this morning. Let's start with the Donegal Democrat. And Castlefin Councillor Gary Doherty has written to the Minister for Justice, Simon Harris, in relation to mandatory sentencing for criminals and the hurt of the Donegal family and the wider community are feeling at present, who is reacting to the sentencing of Richard Burke to 14 years following his conviction for the manslaughter of mother of two Jasmine McMonagle on January 4th, 2019 at Forest Park, Killygordon at the Central Criminal Court last Monday. His letter makes it clear that there's a lack of confidence in the current system of dealing with cases like this and calls for mandatory sentencing guidelines for the judiciary to ensure that any person who takes another person's life will face the sentence that they deserve. And I would say if you put that out to a poll of some description, there's very few people would disagree with that, I think. The Derry Journal this morning, over 50 individuals, groups, businesses, public representatives and clergy in Buncrana and Inishowen have shown their support and extended the warmest welcome to all new residents to the area. Following the recent success with their welcome event in Buncrana, a local group, Buncrana for All, has been engaging with local public representatives, community groups and businesses to address the recent tensions, which they say are created by a very small minority. Local organiser Antonia Smith said Buncrana has experienced some very serious instances in the town recently, with one successful arson and another arson attempt coming within a few days of each other. And I think we're talking about that a little later on in the show this morning. On to the Irish Independent now, and apparently 200,000 cows must be culled to hit climate targets. Startling government documents reveal that dairy farmers may have to be paid €600 million to cull up to almost €200,000 cows in a bid to meet Ireland's emission targets. It comes after Agriculture Minister Charlie McConnell announced plans earlier this year to launch a controversial voluntary dairy exit scheme for farmers. The figures for the plan, revealed in an internal Department of Agriculture paper and obtained under Freedom of Information by the Farming Independent, warn that the tougher measures would be needed if the farming sector is to reach its 2025 emissions reduction targets. The paper says that 65,000 cows must be culled over the next 3 years at a cost of €200 million annually. The suckler beef herd is already in decline, but a 10% reduction in the dairy herd is now needed after successive governments encouraged its expansion. So what's the feelings amongst the farming community about that? I mean, obviously, they're pricing compensation for it. 200,000 less cows. And is that then milk that we export? And milk products that we export? Are we going to be exporting less? Is that what is consumed internally? So are we going to be importing more? Like, if you take 10% of the dairy herd out of the equation in this country, it's going to affect the market. So does this mean that we're going to start importing milk now to meet our emissions targets? Or does that mean we're not exporting our produce anymore. And what's the benefit in that? I mean, obviously there's the climate benefit, but every action has a reaction. So what are the ramifications? Where's that 10% of productivity going to go? If you know, 08660 25,000, 08660 25,000. On to the Irish Times now. And an average of 88 Ukrainian refugees continue to arrive in Ireland every day, senior officials will tell an Oireachtas committee today, with arrivals expected to continue as the war continues. More than 83,000 Ukrainians have now been granted temporary protection orders, and more than 61,000 of these have been provided with accommodation around the country. Officials will tell the Oireachtas Committee on Equality and Integration that this is the equivalent of the population of County Carlow. Every person who has asked for shelter from our department continues to receive it, with daily average arrivals presently standing at 88 as the conflict develops. We expect arrivals to continue, officials will tell the committee, according to opening statements circulated last night. So there are currently 83,000 Ukrainians that have come here since the war began. 61,000 of those have had to been provided with accommodation, and a further 88 on average arrive into this country per day. On to the Irish Daily Star now. And Housing Minister Darragh O'Brien has reminded homeowners that legal action can be taken against them if they do not have adequate permission to rent homes out on Airbnb. Now, as we mentioned on this programme before, a quick search of properties available for rent on daft.ie will show you there are a handful of houses effectively to rent in Donegal. But if you check out Airbnb, for an example, there are over 1,000 properties available for short-term rents. Now, I think it's fair to point out that a lot of those would not be suitable permanent accommodation. Some of them are mobile homes, some of them are little chalets, some of them are rooms in homes. You know what I mean? So it's not, I don't think a direct comparison of the two figures is actually accurate, and is perhaps a little bit of fake news. I think if you're going to look at those figures, you would need to strip out Airbnb properties that aren't suitable for long-term rental. And I don't know what the figure might be at that point. But anyway, there is apparently legislation which means you must get planning permission. Nothing's ever really come of it, has it? I think there might have been one prosecution or what have you. But anyway, the Housing Minister is reminding people that legislation there is there. It comes after it was revealed yesterday that there are 8 times more homes available for short-term lease than there are for long-term tenants. An analysis of Airbnb showed more than 8,100 full properties suitable for families were available around the country, which is good because on a national level they have looked at those figures, and I think that it's important to distinguish between the different types of property. But that being said too, there is a housing crisis in this country, and it's because not enough houses have been built. And then when we start talking about what people can do with their own property, is it an overreach? You know, I mean, if you decided that you don't trust banks and you invested in a property and then you want to sort of get some sort of a return on that, should you be told what to do with it by government? Who is responsible for actually providing houses? They're trying to tell you what to do with your house to fix a problem that they should build more houses to fix. Now, I'm not saying that's an opinion of mine, but just when I read this, when we start talking about what people can actually do with their own properties. Now, I don't, by the way, just for absolute certainty, I don't have any additional properties or income, by the way. I'm just saying there's no interest in it for me. I'm just saying, you know, if I can imagine if I were in that situation. We're going to talk about this a little bit later on, but I want, if you don't mind, you to share your real life experiences as well. And it's one we've talked about on this programme numerous times before, and it's voluntary contributions at school. Now, I think we all know, don't we, that they're not voluntary at all, really. And certainly when they're being demanded, dependent on which school you're dealing with, they're not really phrased as voluntary. They're called charges or whatever it might be. I haven't received one of the texts for quite some time, but you don't really feel, do you, that you can opt out of them? And clearly many parents don't, because 90% of parents cut spending to pay school fees. Nearly 90% of parents say they had to cut back or delay spending in order to pay school voluntary contribution charges for their children. Research from the Society of St Vincent de Paul found that the annual fees average from €30 to €550 per student, with an average of €140 per child. The findings were published in the Closing the Gap, what is needed to end voluntary contribution in post-primary school report. So is that something that's a problem for you? And also, too, when you get into transition year, which I think is beneficial, it is beneficial for students, but it's expensive, isn't it? And it's hard to say no. And I wonder, do people sort of try and skip transition year to try and avoid those extra costs? I don't know. If you want to share in confidence your real life experiences, as I say, WhatsApp and text 086 60 25,000. Just to remind you too, by the way, that shortly I have one more paper to go and then a quick break. We're going to be speaking to the guys at Coleman Legal to find out if there's any progress in relation to their class action. It's not a class action because one doesn't exist in this country, but it is really effectively a class action as it relates to compelling certain individuals and groups, certain groups certainly, authority and what have you, to pay the full cost of repairing people's defective concrete affected homes. So if you have any questions for Coleman Legal, because it was mentioned on the programme yesterday and I committed to get answers for you, we're going to do that. So get your questions into us on 086 60 25,000. But finally, some good news if you like drinking tea, and who doesn't? Not that I get tea on this programme, but anyway, I have to beg for it. Drinking 2 cuppas a day helps protect the memory as we age, scientists have found, which is good news. Naturally occurring chemicals in tea called flavonols boost brain power and help with recall. The effect is the same if the tea is taken black or white, so it doesn't matter if you put milk in. Experts arrived at the findings after studying how flavonols also found in apples and berries affected the memory of over 1,500 healthy over 60s. So you don't have to drink your tea. An apple a day helps your memory as well. So tea and apples, that's the future, folks. All right, 086 60 25,000 WhatsApps and texts. Good morning to Annie, Patricia, Paul and Marie, amongst those watching our live stream of the show. You'll be able to see our next guest and most of our guests throughout the course of the morning by logging on to YouTube, Highland Radio Ireland. You can watch us on your phone, tablet, laptop, your smart TV, which should have the app, or indeed you can watch us on your Fire Stick. We're across Facebook, Highland Radio News and Sport and Highland Hub, and you can click, there's a little watch live button on our website. So why not interact with us that way if you're able to do so? Okay, I'm going to take a very short break. Stay right where you are.
Hiya, I'm Patter the Piggy Bank. Come here, will I tell you what has me tickled pink? We just got a home energy upgrade with significant government grants from SEAI for attic and wall insulation. You name it. Now we can huff and puff and blow outside and we don't feel a thing. Take it from me, with these savings, you'll be on the pig's back in no time. Search SEAI Home Energy Upgrade to reduce your use and your energy bills and discover a new world of comfort.
Supported by the Government of Ireland.
Letterkenny Medics are delighted to announce that Mr. Aslam, a renowned and vastly experienced consultant urologist, will be joining the practice on Monday the 22nd of May and is now taking appointments for services that include bladder and testicular cancer surgery, enlarged prostate treatment, vasectomy and hematuria investigations and treatments. With immediate appointments now available, look after your health by booking an appointment today. For more information on all services, go to letterkennymedics.ie or call 074 9202 955. Letterkenny Medics. We listen if you want to talk.
Highland Radio time checks with Expressway. Travel Route 32 from Letterkenny to Dublin when you book online and travel for less. Expressway, bringing you the time at...
It's 18 minutes past 9 and we start this morning with very sad news. A man killed in a workplace explosion in Gweedore yesterday has been named locally as Stephen Montgomery. Mr. Montgomery, who was just 43 years of age, was a married man with a grown-up child and was from Dunfanaghy. He was breaking up rock while working at a house at a site at Bloody Foreland yesterday when tragedy struck. It's understood that Mr. Montgomery was operating machinery when an explosion occurred. The emergency services rushed to the scene while Garda sealed off the area. The Health and Safety Authority also confirmed that they were aware of the incident and had sent investigators to the site as it was a workplace incident. And members of the Irish Defence Forces Explosives Ordnance Disposal were also requested to attend the scene. Now, it's not really clear at this point exactly the circumstances surrounding this tragedy. The parish priest in Gweedore is Father Brian O'Farry, and he joins us on the programme now. Father, thank you so much for taking this call this morning. But it's another dark, sad day, isn't it?
You're most welcome, Greg, and thank you very much for having me with you. It certainly is. It's a sad day for our community. There's a blanket of sadness from yesterday lunchtime, and Stephen, today is the news is filtering through the name of the gentleman that lost his life yesterday, Stephen Montgomery. So that there's an air of sadness in our community, certainly. Yeah.
And Father, you were called to the scene yesterday.
I was. Yesterday was. I started the day as I'm going to start here today as well. I was going around visiting the sick and the elderly and the housebound, and in around the Derrybeg area, and around about midday, just shortly after midday, I got a phone call on my mobile phone to tell me that there was an incident in Crockfalla, in the area of Crockfalla, and that if I would attend the scene there, and I said I would certainly. So I made my way. I know where the locality is, and I made my way through Derrybeg, through Carrick, Brunillac, into Crockfalla, and was greeted and met there by three workmen on site, and they were visibly shocked and sadness as well, and they informed me that the person had died, and I did what any priest, I suppose, or any member of the clergy or any minister would do, and that I prayed my prayers and ministered the last rites as best I could, and then I stood back at that stage, and the Garda arrived on scene, and I knew then that was my place to step back and to allow the Garda and the fire brigade who landed and the ambulance services to continue their work.
And it's awful news for Stephen's family and friends to hear and have to process, and it's really just right now they're dealing with that as we speak. But also, friends and work colleagues and those who responded to the scene. Father Breen, I beg your pardon. It's a tragedy that affects so many people, and of course too, and the way it was phrased from An Garda Síochána in terms of this being an explosion at the location, though we don't know exactly the circumstances of that too. There's an awful lot of people affected by the Creasla tragedy, where Stephen didn't live too far from, of course, that it affects. It's just one of those awful tragedies that impacts so many.
You're right, and I'm speaking with you this morning. I'm very conscious. I'm conscious of the sadness that surrounds us here in Gweedore, but I'm equally conscious of Stephen's family and friends and colleagues and the circle of family there that are just plunged into that all-encompassing sadness, because I mean, what we have here was a man who left home, and I understand that he was a married man and a father. He left home, he left a wife, he left a family, he left his people yesterday morning, maybe around about this time or a bit earlier, whatever it was, and he just left to go into a decent and an honest day's work and labour, and it came to a very tragic end, sadly, that he was working in an excavator machine and clearing the sites for house extension and so on. And now I don't know how it occurred, and it's not my place to say anything on that. I know that Garda investigations are undergoing, and in due course they'll deliberate on those investigations that are under place. And can I just say as well that I commend the dedication and the professionalism of An Garda Síochána and all the emergency services that I witnessed there yesterday, the National Ambulance Service, the Brigade Dóiteáin Gweedore, the Donegal Fire Brigade who attended at the scene of the incident, that they worked so professionally and with great dedication as well, as they always do. And it was sadly we have the results that we have today, and that Stephen had died.
Okay, and Father Breen, not easy for you to attend a scene like that, so we'll include you in our thoughts and prayers as well. Thank you for joining us this morning.
You're most welcome, and thank you as well. And just to and I'm sure that all your listeners will join me and join you, Greg, as well, and just offering a prayer for the happy repose of the soul of the deceased, but also the family that are affected, because there's sadness and sorrow and shock and numbness in that family, and even though they're not from, that Stephen is not from Gweedore here, but at times like this, parish boundaries fall into insignificance, and people are supported, and we embrace that family, and going forward we're there for them in whatever way we can. Thank you.
Okay, Father Brian O'Farry, thank you very much indeed for joining us. And as I say, we are all thinking on Stephen's family and friends today. Okay, moving on now. We're joined on the programme by David Coleman, founder and managing partner with Coleman Legal. Thank you so much for joining us, David. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Greg.
Right, okay. Now, yesterday we had a conversation with representatives from the Micah Action Group, and it's off the back of a social media post that they had put out. And they're not discouraging people per se from engaging with the scheme, and I want to paraphrase this correctly. But what they are saying, I think, is that they see the best opportunity for people to get 100% redress is through the action which Coleman Legal is taking on behalf of many homeowners. And the question was, the suggestion was made that they should contact your company. And then some people said they weren't clear or not whether you were taking on new clients. So let's just cut to the chase on that one. A bit late for that, though, with that introduction. But are you still accepting new clients, Dave?
Yeah, short answer, Greg, is yes, we are. The case is the only opportunity for people to achieve justice through equality of arms and parity of esteem. We've put together world-renowned experts. We've 9 people working on our legal team on this case. We've access to specialist counsel for European law, planning law. It's free for everybody to join. They don't have a cost risk. They did initially. Excuse me. They did initially, but there is no cost risk now. So there's no downside, really. It's a unique and groundbreaking case, Greg. As you know, it's private. It's fully funded on a not-for-profit basis, and private in the sense that only those in the case are entitled to benefit from the results of the case in the first instance. And at some point, we will close off. We've just crossed 1,800 in the case now, and our view has always been that 2,000 is a good number. And having had discussion with MAG, and we're very thankful and grateful for their support, we have decided that what we will do is we will then announce a sort of cut-off period so that people who haven't joined still have the opportunity to do so. But we're coming to the time when, unfortunately, because our resources are finite, it will have to close.
You mentioned how there's no risk now. This is in terms of people finding themselves, having to cover costs or what have you. This is off the back of a recent ruling, is it? Can you just give us, firstly, what was said and the significance of that in maybe the context of the case?
Well, it's a unique event in Irish law, what happened. And it's this, that if ever a citizen or a person in Donegal wishes to take a High Court case and they lose, they are responsible for the costs of the winner. The loser pays principle. However, in this instance, it was agreed between the defendants, the NSAI, Cassidy's and DCC, Donegal County Council, that in fact they would not have to incur any costs in putting in an appearance to each claim, and we wouldn't pursue judgment absent the appearance of each claim. So that agreement is holding in the main, and what that means for people is that they have no downside risk on an adverse costs order against them, which is a huge weight of people's shoulders. It's been tough enough, Greg. Without the legal bills that may or may not happen, they will not happen. That's the message.
Now, some people were saying, yes, but this doesn't include everyone because I didn't get my blocks from a particular supplier, or I'm living in Derry or Tyrone or whatever it might be. So is there anyone that doesn't qualify to join this action?
Yeah, there are, Greg, in one sense and in another not, and I'll explain. The case is against, as a block supplier, it's against Cassidy's. And there are other firms out there supplying blocks. And we do have some people who are complaining about the quality of the blocks from these places. And we're not quite sure whether there was an element of what we call white labelling going on, that in fact the quarries themselves have no problems with their blocks, but that they may, in a short-term arrangement, have asked Cassidy's to supply blocks for particular
I think I can say with a degree of certainty that did certainly happen in one place, yeah.
Yeah, therefore, is it viable to start taking individual cases against individual quarries when this could well turn out to be the case? So what we believe people should do is that they should reach out again, because our knowledge is increasing all the time in this area, and that if they have had blocks from another supplier and those blocks are affected, they're faulty in some way, we will look at it again. And we don't want to leave people behind. That's not the purpose of the case.
But can they join now? And second to that, too, there is a group of individuals who maybe purchased a property or don't have any evidence as to where the blocks came from. You know, they didn't hold on to a receipt or what have you. And I'm not trying to pick holes, but it is the sort of individual cases that might be more inclined to message in as we have this conversation. So just in regards to not being able to prove where you got your blocks from or you have no evidence of that, where does that leave you in this case?
We've no trouble with answering that or dealing with it. And the reason is this, that it's great when people do have receipts. But honestly, when you're building your house and you're 20 years on, to think that you kept your block receipts, Greg, is a stretch. That's number one. But number two, and more importantly, the geological makeup of each block is unique to the area from which the stone was drawn. So we can show immediately, even sometimes by looking at it, that if this is a Cassidy's block.
Now, how is it progressing? And I know from my last conversation with you that actually it is moving perhaps slightly quicker than one might have imagined, but this is a process that has to be gotten through, and the wheels of justice can turn quite slowly.
Well, no, you're absolutely right, Greg. I'm happy to tell you that there is a timetable agreed as between all defendants, and we are rigidly sticking to that timetable, as indeed are most of the defendants. And the great thing about that is that it's now incumbent upon all defendants to lodge their defence to the claim now. They have about 6 weeks within which to do it. And that really is that this is a turning point in the case, because we've had to set our case out. We spent 1.5 years preparing it, and we're quite satisfied with what we're saying and what we're doing. It's incumbent on the defendants now to reach out and say how they intend to defend this case. And I just, if I could pause there for a moment, Greg, because, you know, one has to ask, why is Dave Coleman on the radio? Why are we here? And this isn't a fight with the government, Greg. This is a search for justice for all. And governments will come and go, as you know, but the problems in Donegal are only going to grow. Both the state, through the NSAI and Donegal County Council, and the people of Donegal are destined to have an epic clash in the courts in Ireland, of which it's certain there will be no winners. The people, we believe, will get what they're entitled to. That's not a victory. That's just getting what you're entitled to. And the state, they'll have to watch as years of regulation are publicly paraded throughout Europe and beyond. Like the listeners not involved in this case, who have no skin in the game, they do not wish to see Ireland Inc. thrown under a bus like this, because people are taking sides. There are no sides here. We want to be very, very clear that the ideal outcome is that jaw here is better than war, and people should talk.
Do you think that this is being taken, we'll just use the government for an example, or the state, or however it's phrased, is this being taken seriously to the point whereby they could be brought to the table at some point?
Well, the way we're running the case, Greg, is unfortunately to fight it. And no lawyer should ever take a case unless he's willing to have a judge or give an opinion on the rights and wrongs of it. And we are doing this, and we will continue to do it. And the state know we're heavily funded, and that they know we have the right experts, and they know that we're heading for a clash. And I'm not calling out the state to say that they're wrong, but what I am saying is that they should be negotiating. There was previous negotiations with civilians without legal or technical representation, which led to a government and, dare I say it, civil service-led grant scheme, not a redress scheme. It's a completely different thing. Redress applies to everybody. Grant is who qualifies and who is told qualifies. It's a whole different ballgame. And we're not trying to I suppose, try to win this on the airwaves. But it's a clear clarion call for logic to prevail here, rather than we all have a go at one another on the floor of the High Court.
Well, it is fascinating because and I have no legal background whatsoever, but it would be fascinating to see how, on behalf of the government, a defence is put forward and on what grounds, and because you have to be very careful, I'm presuming they would have to be very careful, I'm presuming, how they position themselves because of who we're talking about and the potential consequences or the ramifications or admittance in certain areas or whatever it might be.
Well, that's just it. I mean, we have looked at we've looked at it from the other side, Greg, as to what are they going to tell us. We fairly know what they're going to write in their defence, and it is sort of betting the house on this defence, because if they're wrong here, they're wrong in so many other aspects of their relationship with their citizens, and it's a defining moment for citizens and the relationship of government and regulation, and who's entitled to what level of care.
Because we were told, we were told at the time of the first scheme that, I want to say I just use that as a term, that, you better accept this. You really need to accept this, because if you don't, we're going to have to change legislation. And if we change legislation, that's going to take 5 or 6 years. That was the public defence for not giving 100% redress. Now, I presume no one's going to stand up in the court of law and say that, but it'd be very interesting to find out how you would defend that position. Now, I'm not saying even that might come up in this, but do you know what I mean? That's what people were being told. They were saying, if you don't take this, you might not get anything.
Yeah, that's right. And it comes down to the two things: equality of arms and parity of esteem. When somebody's telling you get a grant if you qualify, and if you don't like it, you're not getting it, that's not equality of arms. That's not parity of esteem. This case is both. We can match them toe for toe on any of the legal or technical expertise that's required here. And it's a different ballgame. Now, we don't want to win. We want to have a proper system of justice and put in place here with redress for all. And that's not a win. Because if you have winners and losers, Greg, it's more difficult to deal with something. Like, we have to engage maturely and objectively, and we need to put the past behind us.
Question marks have been raised and they've been sent in to us here again about the legality of third-party funding and contingency fees in Ireland. Could you address that for us?
Absolutely, yeah. So it's a bit of an old trope at this point, Greg, where millions spent down the road. The state are engaging with us in a very, very objective and reasonable way. For example, the drop box for appearances, saving people money and risk. So, if they had something to say to us about legal funding, they would have said it. That's the first thing. The second thing is that well before we embarked on this action, we took our own views in relation to the type of funding we were doing and what's allowed by law in Ireland. And, the proof of the pudding is in the eating. And that we have had no issues. Nobody's raised it once. And we firmly believe that nobody is going to raise the funding here, because it's not for profit. It's for the public good. The courts we've been in now, as I say, 15 times into court already, and the judge has not been appraised of any issues, and this is not going to arise in this case. And
you would imagine it would have been suggested at this point to put an early end to the whole thing if it were if the defendants thought there was
if they thought they could, Greg, they would, and they know they can't and won't.
Yeah. If your house isn't, this listener can't afford to test their house, but you know yourself that I think they've come to the conclusion that they must have a mica. Can they sign up with Coleman Legal even if they haven't had a test done yet?
Oh, 100%. If you have a fear that your house is contaminated, sign up. You're not going to be forced at your own expense to get a test done. There's going to be a system in place if we win, and we believe we will, or if we settle and we believe we will, that that it's taken out of your hands. It's impossible to ask an ordinary citizen who may have given his life, paying his taxes, doing his job, to become now a building contractor and to ensure his house is built to a certain standard, there has to be a proper system in place. It's not there, Greg. It's not even slightly there.
Caller says, when you send in your form to the county council for defective blocks now, you have to state whether you are on with Dave Coleman or another representative, and state that you won't accept any additional money apart from what the government gives you. Is this correct? Have you?
No, that's either a misinterpretation by the council or by the caller. Of course, nobody's entitled to double compensation, and we were very clear about that when the legislation.
This is the shortfall we're talking of, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. We're only claiming for the shortfall. So if the grant is given, the grant is subtracted from any redress scheme that's available.
And this is a question I was very keen to get an answer to yesterday, and I'm glad to have the opportunity to ask you today. Would there be, if successful, would there be a retrospective element to this? Because if there were not, I can see people not wanting to necessarily progress in this scheme until such time as there is an agreement or a ruling. So do you expect that someone who maybe has had to dig into their savings or to borrow, say, for an additional 40,000, 50,000 euro, and they're currently paying that back now, if you're successful in this action, would they be compensated retrospectively, do you think?
Well, let's say, for example, a homeowner had to replace their outer leaf, Greg, because clearly that was the damage, and the wisdom at the time was replace the outer leaf and it'll be fine. Of course, we'll be claiming for the outer leaf, and that one of our lead cases, the O'Doherty case, is just that. It's an outer leaf and a problem and a defective block case. So of course we're looking for all out-of-pocket expenses, and there are many elements to that, including the house rental, the storage costs, the general damages for what people have to go through. I mean, their houses are destroyed. Their lives have to be rebuilt in some ways.
Yes, this could end up, if successful, far more expensive for the government, for an example, than a actual 100% redress scheme, because this would catch more stuff than perhaps a broadly welcomed 100% redress scheme might.
I know you might feel I'm splitting a hair, Greg, but it's not 100% redress.
Well,
it's 100% grant.
I know, but it's not Micah either. We say that, you know what I mean? Yeah, I get you.
No, 100%. I do know what you mean, Greg. But, even in the Dáil, they call it a redress scheme, and they know, well, it's a grant scheme and it applies to few. So, it has to change, and it will change, or we'll have to go to Europe to change it.
All right, language is important, though, so I appreciate the clarification. Right. No, you're perfectly right. I'm not precious. I like to be able to use the right words going forward. Negligence by surveyor regarding Micah House was bought a few years ago. Surveyor said there was no deleterious material. Is there a timeline to take a case? Does the two homeowners have to consent to such a case? I think this is not part of the action that you're taking. Sorry, I read that believing it were. But do you have any advice for them just whilst I have you?
I do, Greg. In fact, we are suing some surveyors in sidebar actions and other professionals for their efforts or lack of effort in relation to advices given to homeowners. I mean, it's tough enough for people to have the problem that they do, but when they rely on professionals who give them poor advice, of course they have rights. Now, they would want to be careful of the time, Greg. You have 6 years from the date of, I suppose, discovery of the problem. And if you're a second-hand homeowner, it's more complex then if the first damage was done, by the previous owner, if you know what I mean, or their advisors. So each case has to be seen on its merits, but most certainly they should be doing something about that.
Okay, just another couple of more questions, then I won't hold you very much longer. What rights do council tenants have where the house has severe issues with defective blocks and the council are all correspondents, but anyway, but just up to that point, where do people in social housing fall into this?
Well, the Housing Act of 1966 says that the local authority has to provide an accommodation that is safe and fit for human habitation. Once the property falls below that benchmark, the onus is on the council then to rehouse, repair, or make good whatever the issues are. So that, yes, people do have rights. They're not sitting ducks or as sitting tenants, not at all.
All right. Can you ask Mr. Coleman, we're selling our house and had to get it tested. It came back 17% mica, but we can't get on any scheme as there's no actual damage to the property. That's an awful catch-22 there, it seems.
Yes, there's a lot of that. What they ought to do is, so they have a test which says 17%, but they should sign up for the case because every person has a duty to mitigate their loss. And the only way you can do it is if you assert your rights. And the only way you can assert your rights is if you join the case. And it is a very tough bind because people generally selling, Greg, need to sell.
Yeah, and they're awful situation there. And very finally, I recently bought a house. I was living abroad and we were returning home to live and bought it online via an estate agent. Neighbours now tell us the estate has mica. Some houses are in worse conditions than others. I bought it 3 months ago. What can I do?
Make contact.
With Coleman Legal. Okay.
I mean, when you think of it, Greg, 3 months ago, 120 days ago, how long have you been talking about this on your show?
Yeah.
That's appalling. Yeah, you make contact.
Okay. Dave, thanks very much for your time today. I think we covered everything. And I think really that the parting message is here that there has to be a cap at some point, and you're really sort of down to the last 10%. So if there are people, and it's a broad net that you're casting, really, as we heard from some responses to those questions coming in. If people want to be part of this, they would really need to get in contact now. So how do they do so, Dave?
Defective blocks at colemanlegal.ie, or just contact the firm ourselves. And we have a call centre available to people. It works very, very well. It's a user-friendly service. So, yeah, people are welcome.
Thanks for your time, Dave. That's Dave Coleman, founder and managing partner with Coleman Legal.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook and at highlandradio.com.
My decision is my right. I choose who helps. Presume I have capacity.
A new law called the Assisted Decision-Making Capacity Act has come into effect. It includes a modern approach to uphold rights and to safeguard people who have reduced decision-making capacity due to frailty, a disability, an acquired brain injury or illness. If a person has challenges, then the Act includes new decision support arrangements, and these have legal standing. See safeguardingireland.org.
Beat your personal best with top brands and premium running footwear from Michael Murphy Sports in Letterkenny. There's new arrivals from Asics, New Balance, Brooks, Adidas and Under Armour in a range of structured and neutral styles. There's also free next day delivery on orders over €85 at michaelmurphysports.ie.
Holiday sunshine. Fly from Derry to Mallorca this July or August with Atlantic Travel in Letterkenny. Save up to 20% with rates not available elsewhere. Also exclusive discounts for parking. Call Atlantic Travel Letterkenny on 91 26193 or visit atlantictravel.ie.
Who said electrification can't spark excitement? From introducing Ireland's first EV to redefining the family car, Nissan has always led from the front. And now we're breaking new ground once more with e-Power, Nissan's unique hybrid driving system, fueled by petrol, driven by electric, no need to recharge, giving you the pleasure of electric driving without the need to plug in. New Nissan Qashqai and X-Trail with e-Power. Drive it to believe it at your nearest Nissan dealer. Nissan. Innovation that excites.
Do you know what I love about Letterkenny Shopping Centre? I love it because everything I need is under one roof. There's fashion shopping for women and men, health foods and cosmetics, Tesco's and Pennies, free parking and late night shopping Thursday and Friday. I love it because Letterkenny Shopping Centre has it all, including homeware, jewellery, hair and beauty and Revolution Laundry and their free car park. Letterkenny Shopping Centre. So much choice and open 7 days.
The Northwest Opera returned to Angrinnan Theatre this June 2nd and 3rd with the musical comedy Sweeney Todd, The Demon Barber of Fleet Street, with music by Stephen Sondheim and the iconic film adaptation by Tim Burton, starring Johnny Depp. This chilling tale of revenge will leave you breathless. Book your tickets now at Angrinnan Theatre. Don't miss Sweeney Todd at Angrinnan Theatre, June 2nd and 3rd.
Now, a report carried out on behalf of the Society of St. Vincent de Paul has found that 87% of parents have had to cut back or delay spending in order to pay the voluntary contribution charge at school. The report, published today and conducted by Grant Thornton, was developed from an online parent survey and in-depth case studies with the principals of 6 post-primary schools. 1,447 parents responded to the online survey for the report titled Closing the Gap: What is Needed to End Voluntary Contribution in Post-Primary Schools. Voluntary contributions, for those of you who aren't aware, are charges, payments made by parents towards schools to cover costs that the school incurs outside of its funding. Now, you know, I think sometimes parents will question, really, what's going on? We don't know the figures. We haven't seen the figures. Let's see the books. Let's see the shortfall in your school year, and let's see how much you take from parents, how that matches. Do you have any left over? Where's that money going? You know what I mean? I think there certainly needs to be a bit more transparency in this. But Rose McGowan is St. Vincent de Paul National President and joins us on the programme now. Rose, thanks for your time.
Not at all. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, and before we get to the findings of this survey, I mean, you know, this is a big burden on families, but we don't really know what we're paying for, where it's going, how it all balances things out, which I think in the first instance, I'd really like to know that.
Yeah, I suppose, I mean, I visit like all of the other members every week. And from this time, in fact, in my own conference, which is the group that visits in the parish, we had our first request last week for school is finishing now, TYs have finished, the letters are coming out for books and voluntary contributions, etc., etc. So it puts huge, huge pressure on a family. And while they were always under pressure, even last year, you can imagine the pressure this year with energy costs, with food increases. So it puts huge pressure, plus the other side is huge stress on family life as well, and stress leads to medical sides of stuff. So every parent, I think we all have children, every parent wants to make sure that their child has a good education, but also that they're not different. And that's what we find. They're under pressure to pay this because the child feels, if I don't pay, you know, there's something could be said in school. And just two very simple examples are, in a lot of schools, when we ask what the voluntary contribution covers, now while it covers a lot of things, but it covers things like photocopying. But the biggies are things like lockers and homework journals. So, like, if you don't pay the voluntary contribution and the teacher says to the child, where's your homework journal? And they say, well, I forgot it, or they might be asked the second day. Sure, of course, everybody in the class knows they didn't pay the voluntary contribution. That's hugely stressful on the child, and immediately they're made to feel different. And I know in some of the families I visit, they don't want to go to school unless the voluntary contribution is paid. So what we find with the parents, they're cutting back on food, maybe they don't pay their rent, or, you know, they don't pay part of the bill that they pay every week. So it's really juggling, you know, all of the time.
And also you know, it's not like it's made very clear. Some schools might refer to it as a fee. Secondly, or levy is another word that I've seen used. It's not always made very clear that this is a voluntary contribution scheme. And you talk about children being treated equal, and when you average everything out, one of the most expensive years is transition year. And it's an incredibly important year for students. I think there's an awful lot of growth and development, and sometimes it means that the Leaving Cert doesn't come too early in their young lives. But there are families having to make the decision to skip that, to forego it. That puts an awful lot of pressure on the student, because they're losing a friends group potentially, and they're also being maybe arguably missing out on opportunities. Now, I know when we talk about maybe a trip to Italy or whatever, not everyone goes on that, and that's not necessarily what we're talking about here. But it does. It is a year I have particular concerns about for people under incredible financial pressure.
Yeah, no, and we totally agree. I mean, we would see transition year, as you say, as developing that student, and particularly in certain areas and disadvantaged areas, they may not have that kind of opportunities that maybe children in other areas would have. So things like the couple of weeks that they do work experience, or, you know, that gives them an opportunity to think, what would I like to do? And also people don't think about the small things. So on TY year, there's a fee for TY, but then there's also the voluntary contribution. So there's a double whammy there. And I think the other thing that people don't think about is, if you're going to work experience, you know, you have to be dressed, you have to, you know, there's travel, there's all those little things that cost money. It's money on top of money. And I suppose the other thing is that we would want those children to really benefit from that year. As you say, leaving cert could be 16 or 17. Sure, how could you make a decision on what you do in third level, whether it be a PLC or a trade or university? Like, they're too young to make those decisions. It's a hugely important year. And yes, lots of families will skip it. They just can't afford it. And they do worry about that foreign trip, which doesn't worry us as much. Look, you don't have to go on a foreign trip. But the other things, the local outings, whether it be to the historical place, there's lots of things involved in that. Doing the Ongashka Awards, which I just think it's a super award.
Yeah, and Rose,
part of it, that you do, that's something new to learn,
Yeah, and in the cost of living crisis we have, and it affects us here, particularly in the Northwest, if you don't mind me saying so, because of low wages, low disposable income. Yeah. And we have record numbers of working families now accessing food banks, which themselves are struggling. And we often talk about when you have the least... we talk about, how you deal with emergency things like, a tyre needing replaced on a car, your washing machine breaking down. The thing that worries you and is a concern, and it should not be a voluntary charge to a school in this day and age. I mean, the government is awash with money, we're told. Has anyone costed how much it would cost the Department of Education to properly fund schools? Although this is where it starts getting complicated, and I would love, as I say, a bit more transparency on this money and where it's spent and how it actually goes into schools' balance sheets. But anyway, do we have a cost as to how much it would cost the Department of Education to bridge this gap for parents and schools?
Yeah, we are in the process. We, like all charities, we would do a pre-budget submission, so we're costing all of that. But one of our big things in our pre-budget will be to increase the capitation grant to ensure that schools can meet those running costs. I mean, at the moment, schools would say to us they're using the voluntary contribution to keep the lights on. That shouldn't be the case. And the capitation grant was lowered a few years ago, and it has, there has been a small increase, but it has never come back to what it was. And it's not just to come back to that; it needs to be increased. And I suppose one of the things we're looking for is to establish a procurement support service for schools. I mean, we must be able, if schools were together and there was certain firms that you use, you have to get better deals, and what you've said there is important. We need transparency on educational funding expenditure, and we will be looking for that, going forward.
Yeah, and just a parting message here. A caller says, all I hear is that this is a voluntary donation. Last year, my daughter was called along with a lot of others from her class to ask for payment. Now, a child should not be exposed to that. That's not good, and that's not voluntary, because they're going home and they become the debt collector for the school to mom and dad and or whoever is caring for them in the house. That's unacceptable behaviour.
Yeah, and I mean, that's what we have to think in all of that, because in fact it hugely affects the child, but when the child goes home it hugely affects the parents, and parents want the very best for their children, so that's why they're cutting back on everything. And you're correct about that. This isn't just about people who might be on social welfare. Like, we have lots and lots and more of low income families coming to us, and that is correct. We're here to help people, so it's affecting everybody. If you think that your voluntary contribution could be €300, and we say you have 2 children, there's €600. It's not the €200. It doubles depending on how many children you have. So that's a huge in anybody's budget, whether it's social welfare or low pay, or in fact people earning a good salary when they have mortgages and all sorts.
Yeah, okay. Rose McGowan, thanks for your time. I appreciate it. Rose McGowan is president of St Vincent de Paul, the national president there. Any views on that? 086 60 25,000 WhatsApps and texts to that number, or call 07491 25,000. I mean, this is a funding shortfall from government to schools. Why should parents who are already struggling? The list is building here as to so many people listening to this programme today, that everyday pressures that they're under. You know, we talk about the nice weather and it gives us a lift, and I get that. But the way this country is set up sometimes, are people able to enjoy it, worrying about this, that and the other? Right, as I say, though, we want you involved in the conversation. You know the numbers there. Right, a quick comment before we go to the break. An Airbnb house in my area had 8 cars at it over the weekend. Just imagine how much water was used in that house in that time. The water pipe supplying this area was never meant to cater for that much water being used. Small businesses have to pay rates. I just wonder how many Airbnb houses are registered as a business and paying VAT or rates. Interesting question. All right, we'll be back with more on the 9 till noon show after the news at 10.
She cuts in from the wing. Oh, that's superb. She's through and goal! Yes! She scored a world-class win.
Sarah?
Huh? Oh.
Cadbury Buttons or Dairy Milk?
Oh, gosh, sorry. Don't dream about a world-class win. Enter to win one. Meet a world-class footballer and win an epic holiday worth 8k. Only with Cadbury. T's and C's apply. Visit worldclass.cadburyfc.com.
Dunfanny Golf Club on the North Atlantic coast. Come join us with opens on Wednesday and Saturday. Come challenge your game against a links course that will test you. With incredible value and great prizes, put Dunfanny Golf Club on your playlist this summer. To book, call 074 9136 335. Dunfanny Golf Club. Just magical.
Live, on air, online and on the Highland Radio app. This is Highland Radio News.
Good morning, it's 10 o'clock. Donal Kavanagh at the news desk. The parish priest of Gweedore says there is a blanket of sadness over the area after a man was killed in an explosion yesterday. Stephen Montgomery, who was in his 40s, is believed to have been clearing rock with machinery in the Knockfalla area yesterday afternoon. Garda and the HSA have both launched investigations. The Defence Forces bomb disposal team also attended the scene. Father Brian O'Farry, parish priest of Gweedore, says yesterday started like any other day for Mr. Montgomery and his family.
What we have here was a man who left home, and I understand that he was a married man and a father. He left home, he left a wife, he left a family, he left his people yesterday morning, maybe around about this time or a bit earlier, whatever it was, and he just left to go into a decent and an honest day's work and labour. And it came to a very tragic end, sadly.
The company taking a legal action on behalf of Defective block homeowners has confirmed it is still taking people into the case, but will be closing it off soon. At the weekend, the Micah Action Group indicated they believe that at present, the legal proceedings which are underway represent the only viable pathway to 100% redress. MAG has urged people to consider joining the action, which is being brought through the courts by Coleman Legal, underwritten by Defective Blocks Ireland. There were some suggestions yesterday that Coleman Legal had stopped taking on new people. Well, on today's 9 till noon show, founder David Coleman told Greg they are still taking people on, but they'll be closing it off shortly.
At some point, we will close off. We've just crossed 1,800 in the case now. Our view has always been that 2,000 is a good number. And having had discussion with MAG, and we're very thankful and grateful for their support, we have decided that what we will do is we will then announce a sort of cut-off period so that people who haven't joined still have the opportunity to do so. But we're coming to the time when, unfortunately, because our resources are finite, it will have to close.
A man remains in a serious condition in hospital following a crash in Manor Cunningham last evening. Garda and emergency services attended the scene of the collision involving a car and a motorcycle shortly after 5:15 at Galdana. The motorcyclist, who's in his 30s, was taken by ambulance to Letterkenny University Hospital, while the driver and passenger in the car were also taken to hospital for medical assessment. Garda say the motorcyclist's condition is understood to be serious. Inquiries are ongoing. Donegal County Council has been told it would be absolutely crazy if a proposed wind farm development in West Donegal received planning. Clogherachor Wind Farm Limited has submitted an application to An Bord Pleanála for the wind energy development in the Guibara area. There are fears that the go-ahead could result in a repeat of the Mean Bog landslide, with concern also raised over the potential risk posed to the drinking water supply and the development impeding on nearby special areas of designation. Councillor Mary-Therese Gallagher says there are many unanswered questions about how the building of the development would work logistically.
People need to know that the application that's in there It's the blade. One of the blades is 165 metres. It's 500 feet, and it has to be transported. They're talking about building, roads up the sides of mountains and through SACs and all of this here. A lot of those things weren't in the submission by the council. So what we've asked is that it's strengthened. We've had assurances that it will be, and all of those issues will be raised.
Over 6,000 Ukrainian refugees and asylum seekers are currently living in Donegal. There are 136 providers of accommodation for those seeking refuge in the county. With more, here's Michaela Clark.
In response to a question from Councillor Michael McMahon, Donegal County Council reported that as of May the 24th, there were 123 providers of commercial accommodation in Donegal for Ukrainian refugees, with 5,200 people residing in them. Around 2,500 additional people have been processed into the county, but to date they have not yet been discharged into their original accommodation. According to CSO data, as of February, 1,652 people from Ukraine were living in the Donegal MD, 982 in Glenties, 1,318 in the Letterkenny Milford area, 841 in Inishowen and 305 in the Lifford to Northern Municipal District. The local authority added that according to the department, 848 people seeking international protection are living in 13 properties in Donegal.
The Irish Creamery Milk Suppliers Association says a cull of 200,000 cows is not needed to meet climate targets. Internal documents seen by the Farming Independent indicate up to 65,000 dairy cows may have to be culled each year for 3 years in order to meet 2025 emissions reduction targets. It's reported a cull of almost 200,000 cows under a voluntary scheme for dairy farmers to reduce their herd could cost around €600 million. But the president of the ICMSA, Pat McCormick, says dairy farmers are taking other steps to reduce emissions.
This figure is a figure that could be correct if absolutely nothing else was done. But the reality of it is, I was deeply involved in the Dairy Vision Group where we set about putting together a framework to deliver on our targets. And there may be an opportunity there for a voluntary cull. It was recommended to the Minister, but by no means a 200,000 cow cull necessary.
Weather forecast, and that Erin tells us it'll be dry today with warm sunshine, just a little patchy cloud, top temperatures between 18 and 23 degrees Celsius. And that's Highland Radio News. We're back with news again at 11 o'clock in the interim. Have a very good morning.
The obituary notice for this Tuesday morning, May the 30th. The death has taken place of Dermot O'Reilly, 12 Culmore Point Road, Derry. Funeral Mass will take place this morning at 11 o'clock in Our Lady of Lourdes Church, Steelstown Road, Derry, followed by burial in St Mary's Church, Lougmallen, County Donegal, to arrive at approximately 1:15. The house is private, please. For more details, including any family health guidelines for wakes and funerals, please go to highlandradio.com.
Like lower prices on everyday essentials? Then make Aldi top of your shopping list. Essentially, Aldi have lower prices on, well, the essentials, including twin pack deli style crumb tam. 230 grams was $3.39, now $3.19. 3 litre light milk was $3.20, now $3.09. And pure Irish creamery butter, 454 grams was $3.39, now $2.99. So whether it's milk, butter or more, Aldi have savings galore. You won't just like more value, you'll love it.
Good morning. Welcome back to the 9 till noon show. It's good to have you on board for this programme on this Tuesday morning. A request in for a very special person. It's a very happy birthday to our own Donald Kavanagh from all of us in the Relay Survivors Choir. We'd be lost without you, Donald. Have a great day. Didn't know that. That's news to me. Happy birthday, Donald, of course, from all your colleagues here at Highland Radio as well. A caller says, not everyone will ask for help. I was a single dad with 4 kids and I struggled and worried a lot, but I wouldn't or couldn't ask anyone for help. But you should, at the very least, contact the likes of MABS, who can help you to sort out your finances. It's an independent third party, effectively, and you tell them your outgoings, you tell them your debts and what have you, and they'll be able to give you advice. I don't think you should try and deal with it on your own, especially as a single parent looking after 4 children. Now, it seems to be in past tense, so hopefully things are better for you now. But please, there's no harm in asking for help. And you could be the person that someone asks for help into the future and you would help them. How do I join Legal Coleman, asks a listener. Well, you can email defectiveblocks@colemanlegal.ie or Google Coleman Legal. They have a telephone number there. But if you want to email them, defectiveblocks@colemanlegal.ie. €1 billion spent on accommodation for Ukrainians while our hospitals are broken and facilities for the elderly and disabled are woeful. No wonder people are angry. The Ukrainians are laughing at us. Really? Do you think Ukrainians are laughing at us? Would you like to be in a Ukrainian city with Russian drones and missiles landing down on it with your children, not knowing if they'll see the morning? I don't think they're here for the fun of it. A caller says, I'm married for 40 years, no memory problems. Why my wife makes sure I forget nothing good. It's a good woman there, making sure you're kept in line. Can council tenants sign up for this? Contact Coleman Legal's the advice there. The present government will wait until someone dies, and unfortunately this is going to happen when you look at the state of some of the homes. Indeed, but I used to think that if that were to happen, very sadly, tragically, that it might change things. I'm at the point now where I don't think it would. It felt like that would early on, that everyone would go, oh my God, this is unbelievable. We can't. I just don't know if it would do it anymore. Thank you. Have plaintiffs notified the courts that they are using third-party funding? I believe the answer is no. This should be done. Well, I can't imagine at this point that any of the parties involved aren't aware as to how this is being fought. And I would be incredibly surprised if any of the named parties, if they thought they could get out of this, they're already pumping a fortune into it, presumably, that if they thought that they could get out of it simply by saying third-party funding is illegal, that it wouldn't be progressing as it is. Now, as I say, I'm no legal expert, but it's cracking on. The other parties are engaging with it. I would have imagined that would have come up by this at this point. Why do the banks, the government and the insurance companies not get together and sort it out? That the outside skin can be replaced in the house to get insurance. What's wrong with this country? Yeah, we got that one yesterday. I don't think the outside skin's enough for a lot of people either. Hi, just sending this message to you, highlighting a fabulous group of people that run a charity event every year since 2014. Inishowen Tractor Run in the Mallintown area on Sunday the 4th of June, with a massive barbecue and dance afterwards in Malin Stables. These guys and girls have raised over €176,000 since it started, all given to local charities. Wow, okay, that sounds like a cracking day out. Beautiful weather, tractor run, everyone having a laugh, dancing, barbecue. Lovely day out for you if you want to support that tractor run in Mallintown on Sunday the 4th of June. Hi, Greg. Not a rally follower, really, but want to know the areas for the stages, what townlands, villages, etc. it goes through. Now, we might do a run-through of all of this with Oisín and the crew. I'm sure we will closer to the time. The routes are out there and available because I know they've already been out and about informing local residents of road closures and what have you. Off the top of my head, I don't know. I'm sure the information is available on the rally website if you have access to that. If not, a little closer to the time, we'll be running through a lot of that as well. Hi, Greg. I live in Donegal. We can't say specifically where it is just at this point. When the local quarry is blasting rock, the houses locally are shaking. Surely this is affecting the structural integrity of the properties. What testing did Donegal County Council do during the blasting at the quarry? And I think any of us that have lived near a quarry will remember when the blast goes off, you do feel the ground shake, the ground rumble. I presume the houses are able to take it, but I suppose if you have a defective blocks and what have you, it could have an impact. Remember when the apartments in Dublin got 100% redress overnight because a lot of politicians and their families owned them, believes that listener. Interesting to hear clergy say at Sunday Mass at the cathedral that they're bringing the collection plates back, as well as the voluntary donation boxes at the church doors, introduced because of the pandemic. The reason given, rising costs of heating. Seems the church are never shy or silent when appealing for cash. Pity they're so quiet when it comes to other issues. Understand where you're coming from. I think there's a far more openness and transparency in in churches nowadays. But I take your point. It's not. I don't really have a dog in the fight there. 4-lane road down to 1 inward lane on Bank Holiday Monday morning in Northern Ireland. The company are planting trees in the centre. It's unbelievable. That comes in from Daniel, indeed. But the traffic through Letterkenny, and it's not even traffic looking to go to Letterkenny, going to the west of Donegal up towards Fanad or out towards other areas of the county, all having to go through one lane. Crazy stuff, isn't it? But anyway, I'm always told that you can't make an omelette without breaking eggs. It is a Tuesday, which means we have Community Garda information for you. So stay where you are, because after the break, and if you want to watch it too, hop on to our socials. After the break, we will bring you the very latest appeals and information from An Garda Síochána here first before you see or read it anywhere else. So make sure to stay tuned. And as I say, if you want to watch it, get onto our website, get onto YouTube's a good spot, Highland Radio Ireland. Like and subscribe there. It's always good for us. And Facebook as well.
The county's #1 talk show, the 9 till noon show on Highland Radio.
It's time for NCBI Bingo on Highland Radio.
It's Tuesday the 30th of May. You're playing on the brown sheet. The reference number is S7. It's game number 22. The numbers are 44, 16, 9, 54, 50, 57, 18, 1, 84, and finally 39. Phone your claim to 9104833 before 8 tonight, leaving your name, contact number and the name of the shop where you purchased your book, and we'll call you back the next working day. Get all your NCBI bingo information at highlandradio.com.
Over recent months, we've all been dealing with the reality of rising energy costs, and we've all been making changes to reduce our energy use. However, if you are having trouble paying your energy bills, be sure to talk to your supplier as soon as possible. There are a range of protections in place for customers. Organisations such as MABS and Alone can also help. For information on these and all other supports available, visit gov.ie/reduce your use. Brought to you by the Government of Ireland.
Hello summer, hello sunshine, hello to a fantastic range of summer bedding, baskets and containers lovingly grown in Letterkenny at Alcorn's Garden Centre. Choose from thousands of perfect plants and shrubs with expert advice and everything you need to plant and care for them. Open every day and now accepting Shop LK vouchers. Alcorn's, where value grows every day.
The annual Letterkenny Horse and Pony Races are on this bank holiday weekend, Saturday the 3rd and Sunday the 4th at the Big Isle Manor, Cunningham. A family fun weekend with a 7-race card each day starting at 2:30. That's this weekend at the Letterkenny Horse and Pony Races in the Big Isle Manor, Cunningham.
The Community Garda information slot is brought to you by Sheridan Security Systems, protecting what you value most. Call today and get your zero-wire alarm system from €299. Sheridan Security, 91-26025.
Okay, it is Tuesday the 30th of May 2023, and it's time for the latest edition of Community Garda information, and we're joined in studio today by Garda Grania Doherty from the Letterkenny Garda Station. Good morning to you, Grania.
Good morning, Greg.
Thank you so much for joining us, and good to have you in. Right, okay, we'll start with appeals, and Garda, you're looking for the public's assistance in relation to a road traffic collision in Manor Cunningham.
Yeah, this collision happened at Garda, Manor Cunningham, just yesterday, Monday the 29th of May, shortly before 5:15 p.m. So this collision involved a car and a motorcycle. The motorcyclist was removed from the scene by ambulance. He was taken to Letterkenny University Hospital, where he remains to receive treatment for injuries sustained. The driver and passenger of the car, they were also taken into hospital, but as a precautionary measure. So the car and the motorcycle, they were both travelling in the same direction from Raphoe towards Newton Cunningham at the time of the collision on the L1214. And so we appeal to anybody who was travelling on that stretch of road, as always, who had a dash cam. That would be invaluable if they could make that footage available to us. If anybody witnessed the collision, Gardaí have spoken to a number of people already. So if there's somebody out there who witnessed it, Gardaí haven't made contact with them yet or haven't spoken to them, we would ask them to contact us in Letterkenny on 9167 100.
Okay, Gardaí also investigating a burglary in Ramelton.
Yeah, so this one happened at the office. It's at the Parochial House belonging to St Mary's Church there on the Tank Road in Ramelton. So it was the office off the parochial house that the lock was broken on the door. There was damage caused to the door frame. This happened between 6:30 p.m. on Thursday the 25th of May and 9 a.m. on Friday the 26th. So the lock again was broken, damage was caused, entry was gained to the office, we believe, but nothing was taken. So if anybody's seen anybody in or around the grounds of the parochial house between those dates, observed any sort of suspicious activity, give Garda in Milford a call on 9153
Okay, and Garda in Milford also investigating an assault in Milford.
Yeah, this assault happened on the Convent Road in Milford on Wednesday the 24th of May in and around 3:55 p.m. So quite a worrying incident, this one. A boy was walking home from school. He was assaulted by two males. These males were not known to him. This boy was taken by ambulance to Letterkenny Hospital, treated for non-life-threatening injuries. So we're anxious to further this investigation, and we ask again, any witnesses in that area may have seen the incident. Anybody who was travelling in that area who had a dash cam, again, please drop the footage into us and we'll go through the footage. Garda can be contacted again on Milford on 9153 or the Garda Confidential line. We understand sometimes people don't want to ring their local station, so contact the Garda Confidential line on 1800 666 111.
Yeah, and just to be clear, when you make an appeal like that, it's not necessarily a witness. I mean, obviously, ideally, if someone were to have witnessed it and have that type of information, but it's the maybe events leading up to it, or people walking in that area, or people leaving that area, or anything like that there that may assist in the investigation, presumably is useful. You don't necessarily have to have actually witnessed the incident itself.
Of course, yeah. So before or after the incident, as you said, anybody on foot in that area, if they captured them on dashcam footage, any cars even pulled in at that area with people gathered around cars, anything that seemed a bit untoward, if they felt that they may have captured it in dashcam footage, or indeed if they've seen it and can describe some of the people involved, we ask them to make contact with us.
Yeah, and such an incident, thankfully, is seemingly rare. We want to get to the bottom of that one as soon as possible.
Of course, yeah. There was an incident quite similar to that one in Stranraer back, I think maybe a couple of months ago. I know there was a schoolboy walking home from school. So of course, yeah, we're very, very anxious to further this investigation.
Yeah, okay. Right, criminal damage now in Convoy.
Yeah, so in the early hours of Sunday, the 28th of May, this happened in and around 3:35 a.m. Well, that's the time actually that the Gardaí were alerted to the fact a derelict house was on fire at the Main Street Convoy. So when the Gardaí got there, the fire services were there, they were fighting the blaze. So the fire was extinguished. Thankfully, nobody was in the house at the time of the fire. Nobody was injured as a result of the fire. So we haven't ruled out the possibility this fire may have been started deliberately. So again, anybody with any relevant information, we're asking them to contact Garda in Letterkenny on 9167 100. Again, anybody who had dashcam footage who may have travelled in that area even between 2:45 a.m. and 3:30 a.m. And as you've explained before, it's only a matter of dropping the footage into us. We'll go through the footage then.
Exactly, because I'm pretty technically advanced, I would hope, but to start going through it all, yourself, we don't want any barriers to people making that stuff available.
It's time consuming,
exactly.
We'll take care of that end of things.
You have your teams available to do that. Okay, right, now we are talking about criminal damage in Carndonagh, I believe.
Yeah, this incident happened at Millbrae Heights in Carndonagh. So this happened between 8:15 a.m. and 12:15 p.m. on Tuesday the 23rd of May. So a car, a white Vauxhall Astra, parked up at that location and the rear windscreen was smashed. So no property was stolen from the car. We appeal to anybody, again, broad daylight, daylight hours. We're hopeful that somebody may have seen or heard something out of the ordinary in that area, and it might benefit our investigation greatly. So we ask them to contact Buncrana Garda on 932 0540 if they observed anything that might be of benefit to us. Right, okay. Now, Garda are investigating the theft of a large plastic ice cream cone. Yes, so this theft happened occurred at a premises at the Glencar Shopping Centre on Sunday the 21st of May. So CCTV has been viewed. Now it's believed the theft was carried out by two males and one female in around 6:32 a.m. actually on the footage that the theft occurred. So the two males wore their hoods up, as did the female. The female was wearing a pink kind of a zippy top with a hood and pink or similar coloured, light coloured tracksuit bottoms. These three then left that area. They left in the general direction of the Dr. McGinley Road. So again, we're hopeful, look, if somebody's going up the street carrying, it's one of the giant plastic ice cream cones. So it'd be two men and a woman and a
almost man-sized ice cream cone.
Exactly. So then we're hopeful. Look, taxi drivers, hopefully somebody may have observed this. You know, it would stand out if you've seen this coming up this week.
Do you know if there was a flake in it?
I'm not. No, I just didn't delve into it in that detail. Now I'm not sure.
It's a large ice cream cone. Anyway.
It's a large ice cream cone. So again, anybody with a dash cam, you know, somebody would remember if they passed these people on foot with a giant ice cream cone. So if you did observe them and you have a dash cam, please drop that footage into us. And again, listen, somebody has seen this cone. It hasn't. If a cone appears, a giant ice cream cone has appeared in your living room, your friend's apartment, somebody knows something about this, and we ask them. These things are quite expensive, and times are hard.
To replace it, exactly. For a business to replace it, it's they're out a couple of hundred. I don't know how much it might be, or it could have been disposed somewhere as well, presumably, Grania. So maybe, you know, people can keep an eye behind walls or whatever.
Of course, yeah, it could have been dumped somewhere, yeah. But times are hard. You know, times are hard for businesses. They're struggling with all the bills they have to pay at the minute, and we're anxious to have this item returned to the owner. So again, look, dashcam footage. If anybody travelled in the areas off the circular road there where the Glencar shopping centre is located, the Dr. McGinley Road, or even up around the Meadowbank area, to make that footage available to us.
And if the business is listening and wants to let us know who they are, and this is separate to the Garda information, we'll give you a good plug as well, because it is ice cream weather, and you know, it is an important marketing tool. And as you say, people have information. It's just a case of divulging it. Would you appeal to those who might have it to drop it somewhere?
Well, I would, of course, yeah. And I think actually the owner of this item is very eager just to have it returned. They want it returned. You know, they're at the financial loss of it, and as you said, it's ice cream weather. You know, it's a marketing tool for them. They're very eager to have it returned. So even look to whoever did take it, might have been a moment of madness, silliness, a silly decision. Drop it back.
Yeah,
even
and
drop
as I
it
say,
back.
you know, headline writers are going to have a field day with it. But I'd love if we can help the business by giving them a plug too as well. So maybe something good can come out of it, and then they can get it back as well. So get in touch with us. I'd be more than happy to do that. Right. Okay. Now, was that the theft from Glencar? It was. So we're moving on now to the theft of vehicles.
Yeah, a number of vehicles were stolen. Actually, 3 vehicles in the Letterkenny area. This is only over the last number of days. So we'll go to the first one. It was a silver Toyota Aqua, registration number 152D. 32563. This car was stolen from Duffy's Lane at Rosemount, there down the town, Letterkenny, between 11 p.m. on Wednesday the 24th of May and 10 a.m. on Thursday the 25th. So this car had been locked. The car was with the key was with the owner, and this car has not yet been located. The second vehicle then was a black Toyota Aqua. Again, Toyota Aqua, registration number 162DL3146. This was stolen from a driveway in the area of Glencar Park, Letterkenny, between 7:30 p.m. on Friday the 26th of May and in around 3:30 a.m. on Saturday the 27th of May. So Garda, this car was located actually. Garda received a report just before 3:50 a.m. on Saturday Saturday May 27th. This car was on fire. It was found in the Fair Green Hill area of Letterkenny. Again, in this case, the keys had been with the owner. The car had been locked at the time of the theft. So that car was located. So the third car that was stolen was a red Toyota Vitz, registration number 060121790. This was stolen from Chestnut Grove in Letterkenny. And between Saturday the 27th of May at 9 a.m. and Sunday the 28th of May at 7 p.m. And this car's outstanding as well. It hasn't been located to date.
I mean, it's interesting that all 3 are Toyotas. All were locked. All keys. Well, 2 of them were locked, and the keys with the owners. I'm just wondering. It's maybe not for your eye, Grania, to wonder why, if it's a coincidence or if people who steal cars see a particular vulnerability. I don't know. It might be worth checking with your dealer just to tease that out with them, because it's 3 in short
Very
space.
similar, yeah. Japanese models, you know, and they're imported cars, but we're going to get to that now in a minute.
Yeah, okay. Well, you go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, no, that's okay. No, we have a piece of advice now.
Do you? I should have read the notes. My bad.
Yeah, no, you're okay. No, so look at again. We appeal to anybody who has any relevant information in relation to any of these 3 car thefts to make contact with us in Letterkenny. Look, if anybody observed any activity, suspicious activity in any of the areas named between these dates, we want to hear from them. And of course, if anybody comes across either of the 2 outstanding stolen cars, we would ask them to contact us immediately. I'll just give the reg number of those 2 again. So the first one is a silver Toyota Aqua, registration number 152D32563. And the second one is a red Toyota Vitz, registration number 060 121 790. Those are the two that haven't been located yet.
And the vehicles might not have those number plates on at the moment, could be sitting in a car park somewhere or whatever as well. So again, we're pretty intuitive here in the Northwest, so if people come across them, they'll know, even if the number plates change, that the cars that we're talking of. Right, so I mean, obviously the Garda have compiled some stats on this, Grania.
Yeah, no, I think we give out this information. This isn't a thing that has just started to happen this week. So this has been going on over the number of months. We have noticed a rise in these types of cars, imported cars. So statistics from the Garda Síochána showed a growth in car theft offences. This is driven by the theft of second-hand imported cars from outside Europe. It's due, really, I suppose, to the lack of security features in the most commonly stolen imported vehicles. So many second-hand car imports do not have a fully fitted car alarm system, and they don't have a fitted immobiliser. This makes them vulnerable to hot wiring. So if the model has a keyless ignition, it is possible, it's been proven that it's possible to pick up a signal from the key fob. Even if the key fob's in the house, it's possible to pick up the signal from outside, if the key's in the house, from where the car's parked. So just a short bit of advice. So buyers should check the security features of their vehicles and make decisions relating to augmenting the security of their vehicle. So for cars without an immobiliser, an additional steering wheel lock or chain could be considered. Yeah, so we'll put these details up on the Facebook page after a while too, because it's hard for people to...
For sure, and when you're insuring your car, they'll ask you what security systems you have in place and all that kind of stuff. So good to know that information, because you don't want anything that would invalidate your insurance anyway. And I'm not talking about these cases, but just in terms of other people and future claims. Right, okay, we are heading into the June bank holiday weekend. It's a long holiday weekend. It's going to be busy because the weather is good, and I think the summer truly kicks off now. So lots of us are going to be sharing the same spaces, be it on land or at sea for that matter. What's the Garda message, Grania?
Yeah, our usual road safety. We'll start with that, our usual road safety message. So bank holidays, they bring increased volume onto the roads, traffic volume, and this brings an increased risk of collision. So we're asking everybody, the usual road safety appeal, please use roads responsibly. It's a shared space, we all have to share it, cyclists, pedestrians and motorists. So drivers, firstly, they're asked to slow down, wear their seatbelt, don't drive while under the influence of alcohol or drugs. Don't hold your mobile phone while driving. And I was watching a clip yesterday about, I won't go on too long about this, but I was watching a clip yesterday. It was very enlightening. It was about a lorry driver over in the UK who had, he just glanced at the phone or whatever, and he ploughed into a load of cars. And there was an interview then with the driver from prison and how remorseful he was for that seconds, the lapse of concentration. And he actually killed 3 people as a result, but it showed the footage from the crash, and it was it was terrifying. And I think the amount of people that do use their mobile phones, they hear a ping, they look at their phone, that ping, the text, whatever it is, alert, it can wait. It's not worth risking your life or other people's lives.
And I think too, the way that is phrased as well, going back, it's not that long ago, but it seems like a lifetime ago, where the phone was for taking calls or answering a text, but now it can be people on Spotify, or it could be people taking a snap, or whatever it might be. If it's in your hand, it might as well be a phone call. It is an offence.
Yeah, it is. And of course, and when you're texting and your eyes are totally off the road, and all of us, I'm guilty of this too, our phone's attached to our hand 24/7, and you'd find yourself there looking at the phone, scrolling needlessly for no reason, just pure habit. I think it's a habit, and people do, if they hear a ping, just please do think twice that the ping is not urgent. It's not might be an alert to tell you your shopping orders are on the way, or your dinner's ready at home or something. That's not worth killing yourself or others over. No. So please put the phone away, put it in silent in the glove compartment till your journey's complete.
Now, also to pedestrians, and there's been a number of tragic cases recently in cyclists as well, account for a number of our deaths on our roads as well. So we have to be aware as motorists of them, and they have to be aware of us as well.
Of course, pedestrians and cyclists alike, they have to ensure that they're highly visible at all times. The onus isn't always on the driver of the car. I mean, there's a responsibility in pedestrians and cyclists to make sure your lights are working, make sure that you have adequate high-vis gear on you when you're out on the country roads, and that you're alert. Also, drivers have to be alert, but also pedestrians, cyclists remain alert at all times.
And to make sure as well... make sure as well too that you might be heading out in broad daylight, but you could be returning in dusk as well.
Exactly. And it's even you're going out in broad daylight, wear the high-vis vest, You know, it doesn't hurt to wear it, and it does make you highly visible. It's a great benefit to drivers there if you're in a high-vis vest on the roads.
Right, so Garda will be out and about, I'm sure.
We will, yeah. High visibility checkpoints, as with every bank holiday weekend, they'll be out conducting speed checks and drink-related and drug testing checkpoints also. So guards will be out. They will see the guards out in the roads. But look at whether you see a guard out in the road or not. The onus is on you as a driver. Please just act in a responsible manner and have a high regard for your safety and the safety of everybody else, and just seatbelts as well. I want to say that you're responsible as well for everybody in the car. If you have children, passengers in the car, refuse to leave. Don't leave until you're sure they all have their seatbelts on. And on another separate note altogether, the weekend's coming up, pubs, nightlife will be busy. You know, we would ask people, please do not accept a lift from anybody if you know they have drink taken or drugs or whatever that case is.
Someone at home. They don't care if they're woken up at 3 or 4 in the morning.
Well, they will care. They'll care for a second or two possibly, but they would much rather that than to get a call from us to say something, a tragedy's happened. Yeah,
because we make those decisions in the blink of an eye, and I think particularly we might be less inclined as we get older. But if you're 18, 19, 20 or 17 even, and you don't want to get into trouble, you might make a wrong decision,
You would, and I know myself, Pack, sure.
Yeah,
not that long ago since I was a teenager altogether, and I remember it well, but you probably would. You'd be terrified to ring home. You think, I'm going to get a chewing now if I ring home. But then when you become a parent, you realise, I wouldn't care if it was 4 a.m, if it was 5 a.m. I'd rather they'd ring me.
At this stage, it's probably more likely parents are listening than the young ones because they're at school. So say to them, look, never leave yourself stuck.
Yeah,
I'd always prefer the call from you than from Grania or one of her colleagues or that knock at the door, which does happen. It's kind of like we say it almost as if it's just, but it happens, and it happens all the time, and it's just the call you don't want to get. And we're going to talk about water safety as well. You're going to have a quick word on that, and you're going to mention, aren't you, don't block piers, please.
No,
don't block piers or access to piers or where the emergency boats come from, because people just abandon their cars and their trailers absolutely everywhere, and every second counts when the emergency teams are trying to get in onto the water.
And I know the Coast Guard are regularly, especially now this time of year onwards, you will see warnings on our page and on the Coast Guard page begging people not to block pier. The Coast Guard need access at all times. It's imperative that they have access at all times, so please park responsibly. If anybody is visiting a beach or any beauty spots over the next few weeks, the usual advice: don't leave valuables in your car, leave cash at home, large amounts of cash, jewellery. Make sure your car's locked before you leave it. And just in relation to water safety, probably not our area, but I just wanted to mention, cause the weather's so good and the beaches are all likely to be packed this weekend if that weather holds up. So we just want to ask people to be mindful of water safety when they're visiting the beaches. Never swim alone, swim parallel to the shore. Don't use inflatables at the beach. Don't let children use inflatables out on the water, the sea water. Check the tide times, check the weather, speak to the locals. If you're not familiar with that particular spot, speak to the locals before you enter the water. And always, as always, if you see someone in trouble in or near the water, call 999 or 112, ask for the Coast Guard. So everybody, just be aware of your environment, any warning signs, and be well aware also of your own abilities around water. Don't be getting overconfident. I know the sun's
direction
out,
too.
The wind direction,
is offshore breeze. Even if you're on a paddle board or standing up on one of those things, and I've seen it myself, in no time at all, you're
out to sea. Especially those inflatables. Very dangerous. But just watersafety.ie. That's the website. www.watersafety.ie for great tips for anybody going near beaches. Also, one more thing. The life buoys.
This feels familiar. It was almost like yesterday.
Familiar. I know.
When your brother was in here.
I know.
And one more thing.
It must be a family trait.
And one more thing.
I know. Mine will be short now. Mine will be really short.
That's what he said.
Yeah. I know. Mine will be shorter.
4 o'clock in the afternoon.
I hope you brought a packed lunch. No, the life buoys, just another important one. We would ask people, this was an issue, I think was last summer, the year before.
Rings, is it?
The safety rings, that are hanging. You see them around the coast and water areas there. Just if anybody notices any of those stands empty, if the ring buoy's missing, just even alert us and we can alert the relevant authorities, because life-saving devices, it's important that they are where they're meant to be. So just everybody, hope everybody, whether they're on land or water this weekend. We ask them all to be safe, keep safety as a top priority, and have a good time. Enjoy yourselves.
Yeah.
That's it.
Don't be fearful, be careful.
Yep.
Yeah. Beaches.ie is also another good website where you can find out information about beaches and where there's a lifeguard or not and all that type of stuff. All right, Garda Doherty, thank you very much indeed.
No problem.
That was Community Garda information for this Tuesday, the 30th of May, 2023. It returns after the 10 o'clock news next Tuesday. And don't forget, if you missed any of today's information, it's available on our website a little later, on our Facebook and the Facebook page of An Garda Síochána. Back after the break.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook, and at highlandradio.com.
You can rely on a Giga home. You can Giga stream all Giga weekend. You can feel Giga safe as your kids hop online to have Giga fun, and you can Giga boogie in your Giga basement. Vodafone Giga Home combines super Wi-Fi, always connected, and secure net for a broadband connection you can always rely on. So get on the Giga train. Search Vodafone Giga Home to find out more. Vodafone, together we can.
Subject to location and availability. Giga Home is subject to subscription. Cancel any time. Eligibility limitations and terms apply. See Vodafone.ie.
Mr. Blue Sky, please tell us why. The Euro Millions jackpot is an estimated €85 million. Play responsibly in-store, in-app or at lottery.ie. The National Lottery. It could be you.
The groom goes free. The groom goes free. Yes, you heard it. The Groom's Room. Evolve Clothing, Letterkenny Retail Park. The groom goes free. Call in today. Terms and conditions apply.
Summer sale now on in Milford Tiles. 20% off wall and floor tiles. 15% off all bathware. 10% off all wood flooring. Fitters and delivery service available. Call Milford Tiles on 083 0910 707.
Recently engaged and planning your wedding? If so, the Encourage Summer Wedding Showcase takes place this June Bank Holiday Monday from 12 till 6. Come along and view our stunning wedding venue and meet our dedicated wedding team this Bank Holiday Monday at Encourage Hotel.
Okie dokie, welcome back to the 9 till noon show. We're joined on it now by Sinead Stewart, community volunteer in Buncrana. Sinead, good to see you. Thanks for joining us.
Hi, Greg. How are you?
Good. Now, a group of local people in the Buncrana community have come together to welcome all new residents to the area. How long has this been established? Is this to sort of counter maybe, anti-refugee sentiment, or has it been there all the time?
So it is quite a recent grouping, and it's I suppose what we're trying to do more than counter any anti-refugee feeling is to try and unite everybody in the community, and tell everybody, just say that everybody is welcome into the town, everybody's welcome into the area, and the best way that we can fight for everything that we need as a community is together. That's really it.
And what is the atmosphere amongst the general population then? Because sometimes it's hard to get a sense from it, because you might have someone like yourself who has a view and is not afraid to express it, and then you might have another individual or group with their views and not afraid to express it, and they're not extreme, but then there's an awful lot of people in the general population that we don't hear of. So what is your spider senses telling you in relation to the general feeling around Inishowen about new arrivals into the area?
Well, look, anybody that I've been speaking to, generally, and I mean, we've been engaging locally there with businesses, with community groups, with all of our local reps and things like that. Anybody that we have been speaking to is generally very welcoming. Buncrana is well known for being a welcoming place, and so it doesn't surprise me that everybody is very welcoming. What I am also hearing, though, is that some people have been reading some misinformation, shall we say, online. And then that is causing concern, a bit of fear. And then, naturally enough, people do get concerned when they hear certain things being portrayed in a certain way. So what we're trying to do there is just to say, look, come and meet the people that have actually, the people who have come to our town seeking safety. Come and meet them in person, and you'll see there's nothing to be fearful of, and there's nothing to be worried about whatsoever. There's a lot of families there at the moment, small children. I spent last Thursday morning in the Intercultural Cafe in the Exchange there, basically with a 3-month-old baby in my arms, and I didn't want to let her go. But yeah, no, like that's the kind of thing that I think we need to be, and we will be hoping to run some more events like that. Maybe at a slightly later time in evenings, because look, Thursdays 11 to 1 may not suit everybody, but I would definitely encourage everybody who can come down and meet the new people.
Yeah, but we can't ignore the fact either that there have been a couple of serious instances. There's been one successful arson attack on a property earmarked for accommodation, and also there was an attempt to launch a firework into an open window, according to the owner of the premises, of current occupied accommodation, occupied by families as well. So I'm interested in the people that are here now that have arrived recently. Are they aware of that? What do they believe it to be a minority? Do they fear for their safety going forward? What are they sensing and telling you?
Well, I just from the attendance, even the week after the firework was attempted to be, and I mean those two things happened within a couple of days, and those are very, very serious things. I mean, if that lit firework had gone into that room, that was a woman and children, in that room, and I dread to think. But and that's what we're trying to prevent, is so that somebody doesn't go out there based on the misinformation that they're hearing online and do something similar, and where somebody has the potential to get really seriously hurt or worse. But yeah, in terms of the what we're doing there, I did notice that there was less people from that it would be accommodated in the centre that had attended the Intercultural Cafe that week. Now they seem to be coming back a little bit more, but just from talking to a few of them now, nobody could know every single person in the building, but from the people that I've been speaking to, generally they find Buncrana, as I'm not surprised, to be very welcoming, but they are concerned about some of the things that they're seeing online, and they've set up a Facebook page of their own, and sometimes they're getting messages in there, and yeah, that's not great.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate, and this is what I kind of want to get to, the real sort of sense that there is there, because things can't be sugar-coated either. There are people with genuine concerns. Then there are those who, in a vacuum of no information, they will fill it with stuff that makes people fearful. And as best as I can, and it's not just in Buncrana, and in fact it's less so in Buncrana than elsewhere, I would be in contact with local Garda, because if people have concerns, I want to give them that platform and represent them as well, okay, in terms of instances of people being approached or crime or anything like that there. And there's no statistics from either Letterkenny or Buncrana or Donegal Town, for that matter, that indicates any spikes in that regard. But yet you hear reports of various things happening. And I appreciate what you're trying to do, but it's that vacuum of misinformation, that lack of information. As you say, history has told us, because we've had international protection people coming in for years. There's been more in the last year than previously, but for years. We've had people from Eastern Europe come into this country for years. And then they settle and they integrate. Okay, that's what history tells us. I just don't understand why this isn't being related or messaged a little bit better, and it comes down to individuals in a community having to come together to do this work.
Exactly. And I mean, this is the fault, and this is exactly what we're saying. Look, communities are feeling pretty much left in the dark. And that is the government, that's government policy. Our community in particular is under-resourced. We have, obviously, we have people who need full redress for their homes, for the mica or pyrite, whatever the case may be, issue that's going on. But we need more doctors. We need more services. We need decent jobs coming to this area. Those services for the people who are coming into the area, those also need to be provided, and there does need to be engagement with the community groups, with all the local reps, to let everybody know. And that this is what the problem is. You say, if people are left in a vacuum, that vacuum is going to get filled by something. And unfortunately, there are people who are in this country who are deciding to, and unfortunately some people in the community have been taken in by it. I hope not too many, but...
And I don't want to be disrespectful, but everyone needs to, we've been told for the last number of years to wake up. Everyone needs to open their eyes and form their own decisions. And if there's a playbook going there, I mean, why is the same thing happening everywhere in the exact same way or whatever? And some people are saying stuff that's perfectly correct, but people need to think for themselves genuinely. They really need to do, and I've got my concerns, and then there's other areas where people have concerns that I don't have concerns, but I formulate my own opinion rather than by getting just chewing up government rhetoric or individuals' rhetoric. It doesn't matter. It's not a particular, just get different sources of information and formulate your own opinions, and then you're truly freer than you are if you just follow what someone says as if it is absolute gospel. Who is Sorry, go ahead.
The government, you know what I mean? I'm not here to bat for the government and what they're doing at all. That's not what I'm here to do. What I'm hoping is that people aren't manipulated by the people who are delivering this content and stirring up hate and stirring up all that kind of stuff and fear. What I'm trying to do is make sure that more people do in fact check things out.
Yeah, but the government also do have to recognise people's genuine concern. And there is a genuine concern here. Now, the question was not very nuanced, but there was a survey carried out and 3/4 of Irish people believe we are taking in too many refugees. Now, the question wasn't asked where they were from, where they're being housed. Is it because of services, or is it because they look different, or whatever? It wasn't a very nuanced survey. But the reality is that the majority of the population have some concerns. Those concerns are genuine. They're not born of racism or what have you, and they need to be addressed and mentioned as well and recognised. And it's not for you or for me to sort that out. That's up to the government to sort out. And they need to take that on board, because that also is very useful information for people who have certain views and want to use it, or in a good way or a bad way. So who is Buncrana for All, by the way? It's a diverse group.
Yeah, there's quite a few of us, but it's just literally a bunch of concerned local people, and we actually have some people now who joined us who are actually living in the centre. So we're including everybody, because what we need to do is we all together need to challenge government, and the best way to do it is, as I said, together. Look, what we need to do is make sure that we are welcoming as many people as we possibly can, making sure that the anger is not misdirected. The anger that people, and the genuine anger and frustration at the lack of services and everything like that, that should be directed at the government. They're the only people, the people who are coming into this country who have been lumped in and thrown in anywhere, everywhere, and like that, they have no choice in where they're going. So it's not their fault. It is not their fault whatsoever. It's the government's fault if there's no housing, if there's no jobs, if there's no services, if there's no training. That is where we need to be directing the anger, 100%. If there is anger to direct or concerns, that's where it needs to go.
Well, all of us in this county and wherever we are, but all of us in this county, and a lot of the stuff we talk about on this programme is stuff that affects us in our everyday life. It's our income. It's what we can spend it on. It's access to the local hospital. It's access to the GP. It's supports for our children. A lot of these problems have been ever present, but I'll tell you one thing. We will not resolve anything or make any improvements if we fight against each other, if we protest against each other, if we hate on each other. We really need to park that, because the only people that are getting hurt is us. And the only people that are getting away with it are the people that make decisions. And it is crazy that we can have different points of view, but we need to stop hating on each other. I sound like I'm being all righteous and all that, but it's so true. We're getting absolutely nowhere because we're all the same.
It's the oldest trick in the book, divide and conquer. And who wins out of that? The government. right? So if there are people who are showing up to protests or anti-refugee protests or anti-accommodation protests, what we would do is invite everybody protest together, not at these centres, not at the people who are fleeing for their lives, most of them. That's misdirected completely. The government is getting away with it. And if you continue to go down that route, you're allowing them to get away with it. That's the communities fighting among one another. This is how the government does get away with it. So we need to stop the divide and conquer, letting them divide and conquer us, Yeah,
and it's not just the government. I mean, lots of decisions are made that aren't made by government either. Okay. I presume you have a social media space.
We do.
So just search Buncrana for All.
Buncrana for All. We're on Instagram. We are on Twitter. We are on Facebook. They're all very new. They were just set up and done this morning. But yeah, if you look for Buncrana for All on Facebook.
And are they open or closed groups?
So that's just a page.
Yeah.
Listen, everybody's welcome.
Okay.
Everybody. That's the thing. It's not about a closed talking shop at all. We invite everybody to come and join us, everybody from the community, and most importantly, get everybody in to welcome and fight, together for what we need as a community. We are very under-resourced. We have historically been under-resourced, and the only way that that's going to change is together. That's it.
Okay, Sinead Stewart, thank you very much indeed. Sinead's a community volunteer in Buncrana. 086 60 25,000. WhatsApps and text to that number, 086 60 25,000, or give us a call on 07491 07491 25,000.
Get your career moving with an apprenticeship.
With 65 options from certificate to PhD level, the pace of change is accelerating.
Generation Apprenticeship is creating fantastic career opportunities for apprentices and a vital talent pipeline for businesses throughout Ireland.
Opportunities are open all year round. Don't miss out. Visit apprenticeship.ie today.
An initiative of the Government of Ireland.
Shop LK at Brian McCormick Sports and Leisure, Main Street, Letterkenny. New, fresh colours in women's sportswear from Nike and Under Armour. Get that new look with some bright colours. Quarter zips with t-shirts and fitness bottoms. Match it up with some new arrivals in our footwear for women. Brooks, Hoka, and On Running gives you a unique comfort sensation. View our new arrivals. Click on bmcsports.ie for your free delivery.
The Cope Dunlow's Mega Bank Holiday Sale starts this Thursday, June 1st, in-store and online, with massive savings across all departments, including ladies, men's, sports, furniture, homeware and hardware. Check out our Facebook and Instagram or see thecope.ie for more details.
They are back. Health and Wellbeing event taking place in the Finn Valley Centre on Thursday, the 8th of June. Let's get more information now from Monica Ramsey, member of the Finn Valley Health Forum. Hi, Monica.
Hi, Greg. How are you?
I'm good. Good to have you with us. Okay, talk to us about this health and wellbeing event.
So I suppose this is an event we've been running now for quite a few years, although our last event was 2019, and due to COVID, of course, we haven't run it since. So we're back now, and we're delighted to be back. And this event really is, I suppose, just to highlight the importance of health and well-being in a very holistic way as well, for people in the community, be it being part of a community group, being part of your community, being involved in different activities or whatever, and also to showcase all the different services that are available there that support health and well-being in the community.
All right.
So that's really what we're about.
There's free health checks. There's a blood pressure check, blood sugars, BMI, and I think you catch people too that maybe aren't going to the GP or haven't been. And some people have had the blood pressure or blood sugars, so particularly blood pressure checked at events like this, and it's changed their lives because obviously we know often if you have high blood pressure, it's symptomless, and even really healthy people sometimes can find themselves finding out for the first time. It's really manageable. A lot of stuff that you'll identify if in the rare event that you might is really manageable. So knowledge is power in this area. Sample alternative therapies, health food tasting, community activities, information. There's lots going on.
There's a lot going on, yeah, and I suppose going back to the BMI checks and blood pressure checks, they are so important, and we tend to leave things maybe sitting on the long finger for a while, even if we aren't feeling well. But as you rightly said too, a lot of people don't have symptoms, and we have in the past identified people who maybe had dangerously high blood pressure or very seriously high sugar levels as well, and they were able to take action then. And I suppose one of the things I would like to highlight is that we will have clinical teams from the community, the Chronic Disease Management Hub, who will be there, cardio, respiratory and diabetes care. And, and we also have our breast care nurse and dietetics as well. And I suppose in the normal run of events, if you needed to see any of those people, you would need to go to your GP and be referred. Now, obviously, they're not going to be doing consultations on the night, but just having them there, being able to go up and ask the question or have a talk with them will be so beneficial to so many people. So we would encourage as many people as possible to come along and to come there and avail of all the services that are there on the night.
Great. It's a free event. It's open to the public. All welcome. It's in the Finn Valley Centre, Stranraer, Thursday the 8th of June between 7 p.m. and 9 p.m. There's a raffle with great prizes as well. 60 stands. In the past, over 500 people have attended. It's going to be a great evening, Monica. Thanks so much for joining us. Is there something you quickly want to say? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, can I just say too, on the night there will be parking. The Finn Valley Centre have very graciously allowed us to park on the lower football field at the Finn Valley Centre, so that will alleviate some of the parking issues because it is a very busy spot there, and with the detours around Balbuffet at the moment, that's a great help to us. And also, just before I go, I would like to say that the event will be launched on the night with the Finn Valley Men's Choir, who will be singing a couple of tunes for us at the start of the night too. So it will be a real celebration of community and people getting together again, and we'll be delighted to have everyone. And there will be free tea and coffee for everyone as well.
I like the F word. You keep using it. I love it. Free. Monica, thanks so much.
Yeah, and there's over 60 stands, so there'll be something for everyone.
All right, we'll give people a reminder closer to the time, Monica, because it's a lovely event and I think it's good for people to get along to it. Thank you.
And thank you so much for having me.
No problem. Monica Ramsey there, member of the Finn Valley Health Forum. 086 60 25,000. WhatsApps and texts to that number, or give us a call on 07491 25,000.
Text or WhatsApp your view to Greg on 086 60 25,000.
Okay, it is 11 o'clock. That means it's time for a news update, and it's over to Michaela Clark.
Thanks, Greg. Good morning. The site of yesterday's explosion in West Donegal has been declared safe by the Army Bomb Disposal team that attended the scene last evening. Garda say they continue to investigate all the circumstances surrounding the explosion in Brinlock near Bunbeg, in which Stephen Montgomery, who was in his 40s, lost his life. A post-mortem examination is expected to take place later today. Investigations are continuing as a man remains in a serious condition following a crash in the Galdana area of Manor shortly before 5:15 yesterday evening. The motorcyclist, who is in his 30s, was taken by ambulance to Letterkenny University Hospital, while the driver and passenger of the car were also taken to hospital for medical assessment. The company taking a legal action on behalf of Defective block homeowners has confirmed it is still taking people onto the case, but it will be closing soon. At the weekend, the Micah Action Group urged people to consider joining the action, which is being brought through the courts by Coleman Legal. Gardaí have described an assault on a boy walking home from school in Milford as worrying. On Wednesday last, the boy was assaulted by two males unknown to him shortly before 4 o'clock. He was taken to Letterkenny University Hospital for treatment to injuries sustained. Meanwhile, there's been a noted increase in car thefts, according to Garda. Between Wednesday and Saturday of last week, 3 vehicles were stolen in Letterkenny. One of the cars was later found on fire, while the other 2 have yet to be located. Over 6,000 Ukrainian refugees and asylum seekers are currently living in Donegal. There are 136 providers of accommodation for those seeking refuge in the county. And Donegal County Council has issued an extended orange fire danger notice for all areas where hazardous fuels such as gorse, heather, dried gases and dried grasses and other vegetation exist. The notice is in effect until Tuesday. Those are the latest headlines. We'll be back with an update again at 12 noon.
Thanks, Michaela. Do you like barbecues, Michaela?
Yeah, I had one yesterday.
Do you cook? Did you really?
I did.
What did you have?
What did I have?
Yeah.
What did I have?
On the barbecue? I don't know.
Yeah,
That's why I
I'm
asked
trying to
you.
think.
Like sausages, burgers?
Yes, I had sausages, a burger, and
that
chicken,
kind of
chicken
stuff.
kebab.
Oh,
and then
chicken on a barbecue. Was it done in the oven first?
No.
Do you have a thermometer?
Yeah, I was told it was used.
Where can you get one of those? Because I really...
Amazon? Anywhere?
No, today, obviously.
I'm sure, like, just a store.
A shop, right? Okay, and you prod the meat, and then it tells you the internal temperature. I need that, and also the coleslaw,
potato salad.
Homemade?
No.
Right. Okay.
Pasta salad.
That pasta salad. That
Yeah,
sounds
it's good.
delicious.
Yeah.
Do you know how to make that?
That was shop bought as well.
Okay,
But I
well-
could make it if I had to.
Could you? Right. Well, we have a chef on that hopefully will tell us how to make stuff without having to buy it all the time. All right, Michaela, you'll probably be eating out for the next 10 days because it's going to be beautiful weather. All right, Michaela, thanks very much indeed. Michaela and the news team back with you at 12. So, as I say, we are going to be talking about outdoor cooking. If you've any questions, 086 60 25,000. That's the WhatsApp and text number. Or give us a call on 07491 25,000. That and so much more besides coming up after the break.
She cuts in for the wing. Oh, that's superb. She's through and goal! Yes! She scored a world-class win. Sarah?
Huh? Oh.
Cadbury Buttons or Dairy Milk?
Oh, gosh, sorry. Don't dream about a world-class win. Enter to win one. Meet a world-class footballer and win an epic holiday worth 8k. Only with Cadbury. T's and C's apply. Visit worldclass.cadburyfc.com.
Is the appearance of your staff important to your business? It's the first point of contact for customers when entering your premises. At C&M Embroidery in Letterkenny, they have a huge range of clothing covering all areas of the workplace. It's widely known that customers warm to and trust employees that present themselves well. Have your company name embroidered or printed on all your work uniforms. Contact C&M Embroidery on 07491 28097 and get your staff looking their best.
Disney's The Lion King in Dublin. More to be seen than has ever been seen. Join Highland Radio on our trip on Thursday, 26th of October 2023 to see the award-winning Lion King the musical. Brought to you by Disney Theatrical Productions. Your trip includes luxury transfers, overnight stay at the 4-star City North Hotel Dublin on a bed and breakfast basis, and your ticket to the show. All this for just €219 per person sharing. Call 074 91 25,000 to book. A non-refundable deposit of €100 per person will hold your place. Single supplement applies. To see Disney's The Lion King in Dublin.
The National End of Life Survey is underway. If you registered the death of someone who died between September and December 2022, you may get a survey pack in the post. The questions ask about the care provided in the last months and days of your loved one's life. Taking part is voluntary, and we'll use the findings to help improve end-of-life care in the future. For more information, please visit yourexperience.ie. From the HSC, HIQA and the Department of Health.
Okay, you're very welcome back to the programme, and I have two guests in the studio with me. Isabel Doherty, Chair of the Donegal Hospice. Isabel, thank you so much for calling up again.
Thank you, Greg, for having us.
Not a favourite job in this role of yours, is it, coming up to see me?
No, not really, but anyway, we'll get over it, Greg.
Okay.
But it's lovely. Thanks for having us.
No,
Thank
it's
you.
our pleasure.
Thank you.
And we have a fresh face in Phil Roddy. Good morning, Phil.
Good morning.
It's great to have you in with us, and thanks so much as well. It's not easy coming on the radio if it's not something you're not used to. But Phil, you're doing a really important job today because you are helping us launch. You're helping us. It's Jive for June, isn't it? Is that what we're doing? It is.
Yeah,
You're helping us. Who said you were nervous? I can't even get my words out. No, you're helping us launch Jive for June, and we'll talk about the importance of that. But I also want to talk, if you don't mind, Phil, and as much as you're comfortable with, okay, what Donegal Hospice means to you. And they were there for you, weren't they, in a really incredibly difficult time of your life?
Yes, it was a very difficult time, and as you know, Ronan passed away on the 18th of January in the hospice, and he suffered from, or his ailment was amyloidosis of the liver. It was something. It's quite a common ailment in Donegal, but rare all elsewhere. But it's one disease or ailment that is known in Donegal above all other counties in the country.
Now, Ronan was incredibly popular and very popular down in Max Mace on the high road in Letterkenny as well. He was a big sports fan and avid Finn Harps fan. He was involved volunteering down there as well. Ronan touched so many people in his life, but of course not least his own dad too. He was an amazing young man, wasn't he?
He was an amazing young man. He lived life to the full. Max Mace, he worked in Max Mace for 26 years, and we always said that Max Mace was his second family. The McIntyre family was his second family, and Finn Harps, that was his passion. He went there as a steward, and he was really one of the biggest fans.
He was there for the good times and the bad too.
He was there for the good times, and I always said that if the lights ever went out on Finn Harps, he would be the last person out. But Finn Harps were absolutely fabulous to Ronan.
In your grief, which you're still in at the moment and working through, Phil, I hope you got comfort from the outpouring of love and affection towards Ronan. I'm sure you were aware of it, but I hope it's brought you and the rest of the family comfort in this difficult time for you.
Yeah, we were aware to a certain degree, but we didn't appreciate what he meant to the community. He was absolutely part and parcel of the Ballybofey and Snorro community, and he was again, he was part and parcel of the Letterkenny community because of his involvement in Max Mace, and he got to know the wider community, the people coming into Max Mace, and they all appeared to know Ronan, and he was there, as I say, for 26 years, and again, we didn't appreciate how much the whole community thought of him.
Yeah, indeed. And as I say, maybe not just immediately, but certainly in the time to come. I hope that helps you through this. As did the Donegal hospice, Phil. Do you want to talk to me only as much as you're comfortable about the role the Donegal hospice played in Ronan's passing and for you as a family?
Yes. The Donegal hospice was to us a lifesaver, because Ronan had this ailment and was in and out of hospital and suffered grave pain for quite a long period, and particularly from Christmas on. And when there was really no diagnosis made until actually he had been admitted to the hospice. So he entered the hospice with no diagnosis. Yeah. It was only he came into the hospice for pain management. That was really, but leading up to the hospice, it was the doctor, Ronan's doctor, who got in touch with the hospice, and then when the hospice came on board, we had respite care at home for Ronan for about a week, but we saw that really wasn't going to work, and then he was admitted to the hospice. But really what we were facing into was care at home, and it was going to be a non-runner because we were two elderly parents, and we wouldn't be able to cope.
Yeah.
And it would have been full-time care. We'd have carers in. We had a hospital bed installed. We had to clear out a bedroom with a hospital bed installed, a hoist, wheelchairs, commode, and all this. You know,
it's overwhelming,
it was going to be overwhelming altogether. And then whenever we came into the hospice, the care, you know, the welcome there was. And Ronan was so at peace. You know,
which in turn is for his parents at a very difficult time, because you want to do your best and you're trying to cope with everything. This allowed you the space to perhaps deal emotionally with what you had to deal with and to work your way through other things, rather than having to try and deal with the care at home, which would have been very, very difficult.
Absolutely. We wouldn't have been able to cope.
And the staff, it's not just the services, is it, Phil, in terms of the practical stuff, but it's the staff and how they treat you too, and how they treat Ronan and others that are in their care.
Absolutely, Greg. The care that Ronan received was exceptional. Exceptional. The love that he received. And the way he was looked after. There was one night, there was a heavy snowfall, you know, and one of the nurses the following morning went outside and made a snowman for him. You know,
just the little things as
just
well.
A little thing.
Yeah.
And then the care that we received as a family, we were there in a unit. It just wasn't a hospital bed. It was a whole unit. There was a bedroom. Then there was another room off the bedroom.
Yeah.
You know,
so there was a sense of normality there as well, to some extent.
And you know, there was one day that my wife Pauline was sitting on the couch, relaxing, and a member of staff came in and said, "No, you're not relaxed there. Here's how you relaxed." And she got 2 pillows for her. Oh. She put one under her head and under her feet, put a blanket over her, put a plate of biscuits beside her. Now you can relax. How lovely it was.
It's beautiful. It really is beautiful. And it's amazing, Phil, that you can speak about this part of your life, which I imagine is probably the toughest part of your life, but there's elements of it that you can recall with a smile on your face. The treatment of your wife, and obviously the treatment of Ronan. It's that's what the Donegal hospice is, isn't it? It's that you can see happiness in such a dire situation.
Yeah, like my impression of the hospice was, it was a place where cancer patients, terminally ill cancer patients, spent the last day of their lives. No, that's not. It's now from my experience, that's not it.
Yeah,
it's a whole loving, caring place, and you know, it's fantastic for the people of Donegal to have this facility. It's just a wonderful facility, and I suppose we can say as a family we have been privileged to have experienced the hospice.
How long was Ronan in the Donegal hospice, Phil?
Ronan was about a week and a half.
So it was a short spell, but so important to in his end of life.
And if we have one regret, it is that he wasn't there for longer.
Yeah,
and have experienced the.
Understood. But for that time in his life, it was good for you. It was good for Pauline. How are you and Pauline coping now, Phil? Are you okay?
We're okay. We're okay. We're back doing some of the things.
Yeah.
But there is an empty chair. There's an empty space. I have lost a great friend.
Yeah. But do you feel him with you? He's always around you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, he's
Absolutely.
guiding you today.
Yeah.
Phil, there's no doubt about that. And can I say, I don't know what I'm so proud of you for speaking like this, and so I'm sure Ronan is looking down on you, incredibly proud of you, as is your wife as well, speaking so well in such glowing terms in such a difficult time. I'll let you grab your breath, Phil. You've done an amazing job. And I'm so full of admiration for you, Phil. And Isabel, as I say, it's the Donegal hospice story. It's when people are going through what the likes of Phil and Pauline have gone through at the most difficult time. But it just makes that, I don't know how to phrase it, just makes it a bit easier.
Yeah,
and you can look back at that last week with happy memories in that awful situation.
We actually had great fun and great crack with Ronan, didn't we, Phil?
Yeah.
Because he was just full of fun. He was full of fun, and he was very happy to be with us in the hospice. He was happy coming into the hospice, and he was happy to be there. And you know, one memory that I have of him is Phil was going home, and Phil got to the door of the apartment, and Ronan called him, Dad, and the next thing he just blew him a kiss, you know, and said, "See you later." And Ronan was very happy with us, and we just adored him, and it was our pleasure to look after you and Ronan.
Well, it's not hard to see where Ronan got his personality and smile from, is it? He didn't lick it off the ground.
No, he did not.
He didn't lick it off the grass anyway.
No. And we remain great friends with Phil and and Pauline. We really do.
And that continues. The relationship continues,
it does.
and that's why people. That's why people feel like they want to help. And that's what you're doing, Phil. An amazing thing in helping what we're going to be talking about now, because it's so real. You're one of us. You're the same as any one of us, and you're speaking from the heart, and that really gets to people who don't. The thing with the Donegal hospice is, if you don't mind me saying, and we'll move on to it too, is that, and my mum was in there as well, so I understand what, but I didn't have an experience of that beforehand. So I was a little bit like you, Phil, in that you imagine what something is. Or what it does, or what, you know what I mean, and then you see your loved one in that setting, especially when home care is not an option, and then you realise, oh, this is what this is, and that is why so many people who've had an experience of it become fundraisers or advocates or promoters of it, because it's only till you are in that environment and the wonderful staff and everything, and the way it's laid out and the way people are treated, and the love and care of the person and their feelings and the respect that's shown to them, dependent on their belief system or not, or whatever, everything is considered and understood. So it's only when you engage with it that you become an advocate for it, and I think that's a great testimony to what you do there. But it's all a lot of it is done through fundraising. So tell us what's there at the moment, and are there any plans at the future, or what is what are funds used for currently, other than everything?
we will be building on. We will be building on more apartments. Which we have 6 single rooms and 2 apartments, and Ronan was in one of the apartments, and that just the family can stay there at night, and you know, it's just a room off Ronan's room, but they're still able to see Ronan. And then we're building on 4 more of them, 4 more apartments. So hopefully it'll be soon. Like with COVID, it just took a whole... knocked everything back, and it also knocked the price up an awful bit. But anyway, we'll get over that, and we'll get the sod turned and get going with it. Great.
All right, okay. So we are launching Jive for June. It's kicking off from Tuesday the 6th of June, and we'll tell you all about how you can get involved in this and how you can help raise funds. And it is an important part of the fundraising process for the Donegal Hospice. So we want this June just to be the best Jive for June ever for what you do and for what you will do into the future. So it's simple enough. Do you want to explain it? Well, because me and Phil have been doing all the hard work
that's
so
all right,
far. So it's time for you to earn your crust. Come on, Isabel.
Right, okay. Well, the year before last, I started the Jive for June because we had no church gate collections, no coffee mornings, and No, Sunflower Day. So then that year I ended up with 55,800, I think it was. Or was it? Yeah. And then last year I decided to, even though we were coming out of COVID a wee bit, I thought, right, we'll go again. And I think I tortured everybody, so I ended up with 121,000.
Amazing, because I thought matching the first year, but to double it and then some the second year was astonishing, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was brilliant. But everybody come on board. They weren't jiving, Greg. They were doing car washes. Kids were doing trampoline. The kids got involved in schools by jiving, whatever they wanted to do. Some was doing a 5K, like whatever they wanted to do, they were doing it, and they were doing mountain climbs and all that. So we ended up with 121 and delighted. I don't know. The reason I'm not starting it on the 1st of June is because of Relay for Life, because I don't want to infringe on their fundraising. So that's why we're going for.
So what do we do then? How do we get involved?
Well, you can video your jive and send it to Highland Radio, and they have a platform there that we will show a different jive every day, and people then donate online, or indeed they can get the sponsorship cards from myself, and then other people just go and do different fundraisers.
Whatever you want
we
to
are
do.
available. We're available to go out on the day if the want is there.
Yep. Now I believe that we are going to be playing a jive song every day on Highland Radio. Okay, that's going to happen on David James's show, but it doesn't mean you have to do it then.
No,
or whatever. It's just to be in the mood and to jive for June whenever it suits you. So to sign up or donate, you call Isabel on 087 238 9607.
Yeah,
we're going to put these numbers up on all our socials and stuff. Or you call 91255656. So you video your performances and send it to the Donegal Hospice at gmail.com. We'll post it up on our Facebook page, facebook.com/Donegal Hospice. We're going to be doing all of that too here on Highland Radio, and that'll all work its way out. And we'll give people close to the time an email address or how they can get them into us, because we're working together and we get them all up there, and people can get others to donate, get donation cards, and we just need lots of people to do a little.
Yeah,
that's all. We don't, I mean, if someone wants to raise 50 grand on their own, fantastic. But if 1,000 people raise €50, you're there as well.
There's kids as well do wee bake sales.
Yep.
Along the side of the road and all that. So, like, every penny counts, Greg, and it gets us to the high figure. But I wasn't going to do it this year because of Creasla and everything else. But then I thought, no, I will.
Yeah, it's so important to all of us.
Yeah.
Exactly. Right, so this is kind of a soft launch really then, so isn't it? We'll go full whack closer to the time then?
Full whack closer to the time. We'll get...
and it'll be across all of our programmes and people will be reminded.
Yeah.
But you can go on to the Donegal Hospice Facebook page right now and get information.
Yeah.
All right,
Perfect.
okay. Are you do jive?
Yes, but...
Do you?
She's a wonderful woman.
Good mover.
She's a wonderful person.
Phil, are you jiver? Do you jive?
Yeah, my wife, that was one of my great attributes, was that I could dance.
So that was what attracted her to you in the first place?
I think so.
Were you at a dance? Did she look across at you? You looked across at her? You extended your hand? Do you remember the song you danced to?
No. We met at the nurses' dance in Donegal.
Oh, lovely. I bet you Pauline remembers the song.
There's a story behind
Tell
it,
us
Greg.
the story, Phil.
There's a story.
You're not getting out till you tell us.
No, I have no other recollection.
What about her sister?
Huh?
What about her sister?
Oh yeah. Well, the first night down when I went back to meet her, called at the house, and her sister came down the stairs, and I looked at her, and I thought, yeah, that's the one I was out with. But no, Pauline came down later, so I looked at the two of them and I didn't know which of them I was with.
Well, anyway, you got there in the end. And how long have you been married now?
We were married 51 years.
Wow, so you just did the half century not so long ago. Congratulations,
that's right.
Phil. Listen, I'm not going to repeat myself, Phil, but everyone's really proud of what you've done. We've loads of messages coming in. They recognise that you're clearly a lovely person from a lovely family and are really grateful that you shared your story to help us understand. And Isabel, anything that you want to finish with? As I say, here in Highland, as we get closer to that date, we'll be telling people how they can get involved. And it's just really to get people's thinking caps on now, isn't that it, really?
Yeah, it is, Greg. And look, we want to thank Highland Radio. They've been very good to us all down through the years, and we're very grateful for that. And David James as well really puts his heart and soul into this. So it's good. So we'll get it going this year again. See how we fare out, and
And credit to you, Isabel, because through your efforts as well, 170,000 euros been raised to help families like Phil's and others, and it's into the future as well. Thank you so very much indeed.
Thank you.
Isabel Doherty, who's chair of the Donegal Hospice, and a special thanks to Phil Roddy, father of Ronan. And again, as I hope you know, Phil, the love for Ronan coming in here. We have a message in from Max Daly and others who he touched in his life, which I think is a beautiful thing.
Thank you.
Okay. That is Phil Roddy and Isabel Doherty, and we'll be back with more after the break.
The county's #1 talk show, the 9 till noon show on Highland Radio.
National Heritage Week returns from August 12th to 20th, and this year celebrates living heritage. Organise an event by exploring and sharing the traditions, crafts and skills passed down through generations in your family or community. Visit heritageweek.ie for more. National Heritage Week is a programme of the Heritage Council, supported by the Local Authorities Heritage Officer Network and the Department of Housing, Local Government and Heritage.
Looking for a flexible, affordable home improvement loan? From your kitchen renovation to getting your garden barbecue ready, B&S Credit Union's Renovate Loan is ready to go. For loans from 5 to 70,000 euro, visit our website at bnscu.ie or free phone 1-800-290-390, where our dedicated and experienced loans team will be delighted to help you. Loans are subject to approval. Terms and conditions apply. B&S Credit Union Limited is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Highland Radio time checks with Expressway. Travel Route 32 from Letterkenny to Dublin when you book online and travel for less. Expressway, bringing you the time at...
Okay, 28 minutes past 11. I love working here, and I genuinely love doing this job. And I enjoy interviewing everybody, but sometimes you get to do an interview that is very, very special. And for me, chatting to and listening to Phil was incredibly special, and I feel very lucky to have been involved in that, because he's clearly a lovely man, and the father of another lovely man who is still very much missed and always will be. But as I say, just a real honour to speak to Phil and Isabel, of course, but particularly Phil. I'll remember that for a very long time. A message in here. We're sending the following message in support of your programme today on the Donegal Hospice. We'd like to thank the hospice staff for their loving care and support given to Ronan Roddy and his family in his final days and facilitating our visits to him in the hospice. Also to Pauline and Phil for being great parents to Ronan and supporting him in all his endeavours. We will miss Ronan's smiling face in the shop. To Pauline and Phil, God bless and take care. From all at Max Deli, Ewan, Rachel and Ronan McIntyre and all the staff. And another from Anne in Raffo. We really admire Phil and his family. He's an exceptional man and our prayers are with him. And we'll join with you in that as well. Okay, I didn't want to cut that conversation, so we ran into an ad break here. We're going to be talking about barbecuing after these.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook and at highlandradio.com.
Le déanaí táimid ile ag déaláil le costais arda fuinneamh. Tá ahra déanta ag a lán daoine chun an úsáid fuinneamh a leidú. Tá tacaíocht ar fáil má tá tú ag stracailt. Má tá triblód a gud de bhilí a íoch leabhar le de halátharí a luas féidir. Tá cosantaí ag súla ar fáil de chuisteméirí. Tá cáir ar fáil ó agrachtaí ar nós mabs agus a lón freisin. Chun faisnéis áil, take chuig gov.ie/úsáid níos lú ó rialtas na Héireann.
Why leave all the magic moments or great scenes you've captured on your phone sitting there or in the cloud when you can have them printed at Big East Chemist? Using the McGee's app or one of the in-store kiosks, you can upload your photos from your phone, Google Photos, Facebook or Instagram and have them printed instantly within an hour or in by 10 and ready by 5. See mcgees.ie for more details. Hold your memories in your hand with McGee's chemist, Letterkenny. Holiday sunshine. Fly from Derry to Mallorca this July or August with Atlantic Travel in Letterkenny. Save up to 20% with rates not available elsewhere. Also exclusive discounts for parking. Call Atlantic Travel Letterkenny on 91 26193 or visit atlantictravel.ie.
Let's call out his name. Inish Tractor Run Malin, Sunday, 4th of June. Live charity auction plus barbecue with Pig on the Spit. Live music from 6 p.m. with Mike Denver and his band, Jim Devine, Liam McDermott and Shani Cramsey. Proceeds to the Donegal Hospice, Huey's Corner and the Intellectual Disability Play Area in Carndona. That's Sunday, 4th of June. Inish Tractor Run with entertainment live in the marquee at Malin Stables. This ad is kindly sponsored by Millbrook Joinery Malin.
Okay, we head now to beautiful Harvey's Point on the shores of Loch Esk, and we're joined by their executive head chef, Colin Bradley. Good morning, Colin. Thank you so much for joining us. Oh, he can't hear me yet. I'm going to kick him out and bring him back in again because it's just connecting to audio there. Okay, I'll throw him out and bring him back in. Any questions on barbecuing? I'm hopefully going to cover most of the obvious ones, but stay with us and we'll get to any that you send in. Colin, can you hear me? No, we aren't getting Colin there. I don't know what's going on whose side that is a problem. Wherever lies the blame, these services should have been in place before these good people were allowed to come here. But sure, look, if we'd have done that, no one would ever have come here, would they? Your contributor is saying that the refugees in Donegal are fleeing for their lives. 60% of refugees are not fleeing from war zones. They're economic tourists that face... that's a fact, so no wonder people are protesting. The government getting 30 million per month from the EU tells you exactly what their policies are. Well, it's not a fact. I mean, there are some, of course, but to say they all are is just not a statement of fact. And we'll get to more of those. I just want to try Colin one more time. Colin, can you hear me? Right, no. Okay, I think I know what to do there. And it's called reset absolutely everything. Right, okay. I couldn't agree more with Sinead, what she said about coming together to focus on the root of these issues. Maybe not all, but most of the current problems around housing, cost of living, Micah, the blame lies firmly at the feet of the government, who are allowing refugees, the people fleeing for their lives, to be scapegoated. And as a result, it pays directly into the hands of the bigots and racists who seek to cause distress. Now, again, I just want to be really careful here. I understand we tend to use emotive language, but there are people with concerns that are neither bigots or racist. I really agree with Sinead. We are a welcoming community, also always have been. People coming here really need shelter and support. I think we need to recognise that we have a huge problem with the manipulation of people's genuine concerns by organised far right. We know this from monitoring from the Garda and others. We need to tackle this manipulation because it is causing division. Doing an all fault of the foreigners, we forget ourselves when we mistreat people seeking asylum. Time for people to stop falling down the online rabbit hole of mis and disinformation. Check your sources. A very few people are bringing disrepute to our county when they attack these centres and people. Whereas Arcade Mila Fulcher, it's important to remember that it's not illegal to seek asylum. And look, we have to have our concerns, and we have to make sure that we can provide proper care for not only the population of Ireland, but the people coming in here as well. And that's a conversation we need to have. But we also have to remember it's only a couple of short generations ago, during the famine, as it's called, that millions of us fled here because there was no food, no money, no employment. We had no houses, and we fled, and we travelled all around the world. And at that time, we didn't necessarily go there with money in our pockets. We went there to work and to make better lives for ourselves. But it is only a short time ago in our history that we left here in our millions, some never to return. There was a huge depopulation of this country. It's just really not that long ago. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean, fling the gates open. I'm not suggesting that for a second, but we do have to be, don't we, conscious of our own history in all of this as well. Greg, the genuine concerns people have are to do with the government's mismanagement of the influx of refugees. Bad actors in the community take advantage of these concerns by fanning the flames of fear with misinformation. I, for one, welcome the positive input Sinead and her group are bringing. Government is messing up healthcare, housing and refugees for us all. It's not necessarily the people coming in. Right, we have finally made connection with Colin, the executive head chef at Harvey's Point, Lochas. Colin, good morning to you.
Greg, hello, how are you?
I'm good. I just know for a fact that you are better at producing amazing food than you are at connecting to a Zoom call.
I've got a weakness from computers. You should be thankful I could turn it on.
Hi, come here. It's great to have you with us. And it's not surprising, is it? And thank you so very much, Colin, for taking the time out of your busy morning. It is barbecue season now. We've got a spell of really good weather, and it's an opportunity for people to get out and enjoy the outdoors, and we love to stick the barbecue on in this country, don't we?
Absolutely. And at the moment the weather is just fantastic, so that's a great opportunity to avail of that facility and to get the outdoors and to enjoy it.
Yeah, we were chatting earlier on to Michaela, actually, here just around about 11 o'clock. And one thing I need to get, and I wonder from your perspective how important it is a meat thermometer when you're cooking outside, because we don't necessarily have the guidance from the oven or the air fryer.
Yeah, so the meat thermometer will be absolutely, in my opinion, it will be essential. It's something that we have 7 kitchens here at Harvey's Point. I know it's indoor, but we've got meat thermometers everywhere, because just to get your temperatures correct, they're going to give you a very accurate read, so you know exactly if the food is safe. So once you're cooking, once you get over that 75 degrees, you know that you're good to go. See, with barbecues, I suppose the main issue is with barbecues, people turn them on, they get them up to a very high heat, and then you can overcook or you can burn the outside and the inside won't be cooked. The whole secret with barbecuing is get your temperature and then just turn it down to a very low heat. Barbecuing should actually be, it's an indirect heat. So you're not looking for the food onto a direct heat. It's more indirect, where the heat is coming up from, be it gas or your charcoal or your wood. So basically you bring it up to temperature and then you'll just turn everything down really low, and you'll just use that heat that's just transforming through. And it's actually a very slow process of cooking. So when you're outside, you can sit down, you can enjoy the sun, have a glass of the wine, whatever you want, and just enjoy the time and just let the food cook nice and slowly. And that then you're going to guarantee that you're going to get the food cooked through, especially if you're using, a lot of people will barbecue chicken, ribs, and that they're actually quite slow processes to get those cooked. So burning the outside is the thing that you have to watch out for. So get your temperature nice and low, bring your temperature up initially, then just reduce it down nice and low, and then just cook your food very, very slowly. And then use your temperature probe just to make sure that you're above that 75 degrees. Once you probe into the center of the food, and then you know you're safe to go. Yeah, and Colin, that's a really interesting bit of advice from you, which I will take on board, because maybe we're conditioned by the flamed grill burger kind of adverts and stuff, and we think it's sort of the fat bursting into flames and that's actually cooking the food. But it's the plate, the heat of the plate really, that then we're looking to cook our foods with, so we don't burn the outside whilst leaving the inside undercooked. Yeah, absolutely. The flames are for show. We see, guys, if you have flames, usually what all the flame is really doing is it will give you, but it really is burning. That's what anything you put a fire directly over anything, it's going to burn. And you're not looking for that. So really what you're looking to do is get those down. Yes, obviously when some of the fats from the meats, especially you have a high fat content, possibly in your burgers, possibly in your sausages, that's going to come down. It's going to create that small little flames going up. That's absolutely fine. But the last thing you want is an actual fire burning. Brilliant. That's only going to burn the food.
Fantastic advice.
You're not looking for that. So you would burn your coals, your wood, whatever, and then let that go out. And then it's just that residual heat that's underneath. That's what's going to actually cook the food.
Okay. Now, I find that meat sticks. What am I doing wrong?
Well, and obviously a little bit of oil. So a brush is a really good thing. Just to have a very hard bristle brush, and just to brush the bars on the barbecue, just with some ordinary oil, not really olive oil will burn, but just an ordinary vegetable oil would be ideal, and just to brush it on. And then also you could brush your meat before you put it on. The reason too that certain meats stick to barbecues is a lot of people use a marinade. So they would possibly have marinated ribs in a barbecue sauce. That's naturally going to stick. So it's a little bit difficult maybe to stop that. But just to brush it lightly with oil. Some people also would use some tin foil possibly. If you were using fish, I would always cook fish. I would say if we were doing a nice piece of salmon, you would maybe put some Cajun spice on. Then I would wrap it in tin foil, a little bit of oil on the inside, actually fold it into a parcel. You could also add in some veg into that, and just sit that gently on the side of the barbecue or up on the top grill, and just let it cook really, really slowly. And it's absolutely beautiful. Once you open the foil off, then it's beautiful.
Yeah. And it creates an event too, doesn't it?
It creates an event, absolutely. Or you could also wrap it in a little bit of parchment paper or greaseproof paper just before it goes into the foil. So you've got that double layer, and the parchment paper won't stick. So when it comes out, it's not stuck. Just because it's a barbecue doesn't mean that everything has to be seared and grilled and burnt. You know what I mean? You can also cook. You can use your parchment paper, wrap it in tin foil, cook really, really slowly, which is beautiful as well. It's absolutely, for fish, it's a perfect way of doing it.
And how do you know that your fish is done, but you don't overdo it?
Yeah, again, you're back to the same process. So you can use your temperature probe. You can just pierce the foil, go into the center of the fish or whatever it is, and you're going to watch your probe. And you're looking for that magic number is 75 degrees or a little bit above. That's the magic number.
And is that it's killing anything that could be harmful? Is that it's as basic as that, isn't it?
Yeah. So we also got to be careful with our food, Greg, in regards to, if we have a barbecue, so it's a beautiful summer evening and we're bringing out food to the barbecue, we've got to be very careful that food comes directly from a fridge or a cold room, that comes from your fridge in the house, that is held at that between 1 to 4 degrees or 1 to 5 degrees, that is kept at that temperature, that is not maybe left sitting out for an hour and a half in the sun when the bacteria is going to start increasing. We just got to be careful with that we take it from the fridge out and directly onto the heat. People will say you need to let the steak come to room temperature, and what I would be saying to you, I would say on a hot summer's day, just take it from the fridge, put it onto the barbecue, cook it immediately, keep everything covered, because we always have flies and we've got everything flying around outside. So just to keep everything nicely covered, be it in a nice plastic container or whatever, just to keep everything safe and nice and hygienic. That's very, very important.
And I presume, too, we have to be careful of the interaction between cooked meat and uncooked meat, and even the utensils we're using for each one or other.
Absolutely. We're lucky here in the kitchen here, especially here at Harvey's Point, and all professional kitchens would have a colour code practice. So we would have different colour boards for every product. We would have different knives for every product. In our own personal kitchens at home, we're not lucky enough to have that. And especially when you come out onto a small space on your evening out on your patio area and you've only got a small table, things can get mixed together. That's very, very important to keep, and it's a very, very good point. Cross-contamination is highly dangerous.
Right.
So to keep everything's nice and separate is really important.
Yeah, and regularly wash your hands and stuff as well, presumably. Yeah,
absolutely. Regularly wash your hands. Yeah, and disposable paper is great. You'll maybe have one, what we would call a cloth or a dishcloth, just for using hot produce. Other than that, just have a roll of disposable paper that when you wash your hands or when you're picking up something, that you can just have a bin beside you, that you can just dispose of it, because we can also get cross-contamination from dirty tea towels, dirty cloths. And be very careful also with our utensils as well. Keep one for your cooked produce that you're turning your food on your barbecue, and then keep one for your raw produce. That's very, very important.
Now, obviously, you talked about chilling out. Don't rush things. Sit down, have a glass of wine, 7-Up, whatever it might be. But us amateur chefs, we stand there and we throw the meat on it, and almost instantaneously we're flipping it, and then we're flipping it, and then we're flipping it. Right. So. Yeah. Is there a correct technique? So you put your chop or your steak or your burger down. How long, because you can't resist seeing what's happening underneath, how long do you leave it before you sort of start interfering with it?
Yeah, you're going to leave for 2 to 3 minutes on either side. Especially, we'll talk about, for example, a steak. And we'll go back to just the issue again, you said with sticking, okay? When you put a steak on initially, it will stick. Now, if you leave that for 3 to 4 minutes, it'll stop because it's after caramelizing and it's after forming a crust. And it'll actually nearly create a barrier itself, so it's easier to lift off. It's only if you immediately, within 30 seconds, you go to flip it, that's when it's stuck, because that meat is still very raw and it's after sticking to the bars. But once it starts to caramelize, it's easier to turn it or to flip it on the barbecue then. So that also helps your sticking issue. But you will be definitely looking at leaving it for 2 to 3 minutes. Plus, if you've got the nice bars on your barbecue, if you're flipping constantly, you can do a nice decorative pattern, so you can almost turn it at a 45 degree and back again the same angle, and that will give you the nice crisscross formation. So it will. And so realistically, if you're putting on a steak, you'd only be looking at possibly turning it twice throughout the cooking process.
Yeah, but with burgers and stuff, you'd want to... Chops is something I find difficult to judge. Now, I always end up I don't have it. I'm going to get one of these probe thermometers, but I always find with chops, I overdo them because I find it more difficult to sort of get a read as to when they're actually cooked. You know what I mean?
Yes,
so is there any tips there?
Yeah, well, the main tip, what I would suggest again, most barbecues now have a wonderful little rack which sits again above where we will cook. This is probably the best piece of equipment on a barbecue, because what you do is once you're cooked, or you think you're cooked, you're going to sit it up then. That's going to do two things. It's going to rest the meat. While the meat is resting, it's still cooking because you're still at temperature there. So it's still cooking slowly, so it is. When the meat rests, basically, what that's doing is that's letting the natural juices back into the muscle again. And it's just keeping the meat nice and tender. If you take the meat off straight away, it's like if you put your hand on something hot, you kind of shrivel up.
Yeah.
But once it comes back, once the cooler kind of hits again, just kind of relaxes and it just lets the meat relax. And that's the most important thing. So, for example, we'll go back to your chops. So you'll cook them possibly, let's say 4 minutes, then turn, then 4 minutes again. So we're looking at about 15, 16 minutes there. And then we'll put it up on top in that resting, but it's still cooking in that process. Yeah. The juices are going back in. You'll probe then, check that you're at your 75 degrees or a little bit above, and then but there's no harm to leave that chop there for 8-10 minutes just to rest nicely, and you're going to have a much nicer product.
Beautiful.
To eat, it's going to be
right, okay,
better.
so that's the red meat and the fish and the chicken there as well. What else can you throw on a barbecue? Like peppers but anything like that that's also nice to have a bit of a...
Everybody goes for, I suppose, sweet corn is very, very popular.
Yes.
Your corn is very, very popular, really, really lovely, just to brush with a little bit of butter or a little bit of oil again, or put some spices onto it. Obviously, your peppers or your skewers. Little trick with a skewer, if you're using the wooden skewers, the night before, just get a little container of water and soak the skewer in water before you skewer any of your products. And what that will do is it just means that the skewer won't burn. Sometimes they burn.
I've done it. The two ends are on fire.
Yeah, the two ends are on fire. So soak it in water the night before, and again, keep your heat down and keep the flames down, and then you won't have that issue with your skewer. Or you can also wrap the ends just in a little bit of tin foil.
Yes.
Just a bit. That's not, if you covered, keep your meat and your chicken all nice, very, very tight on it, and then just wrap the ends in a little bit of tin foil. That'll just stop the skewer burning and it'll keep it nice. Or obviously the metal skewer is a good trick as well, but the metal skewer burns your fingers where the wooden one doesn't. So everything has an advantage and a disadvantage.
And what should we? Is it? Do we go in and buy our pre-made coleslaw and potato salad or pasta salad, or is it worth?
No, that takes all the fun. That takes all the fun away.
Give us a quick recipe then.
Very, very simple. So let's look at coleslaw first. You're just looking at some shredded cabbage, shredded carrot, and just some mayonnaise and some seasonings.
That's it.
Pepper. Very, very, very simple. A wonderful idea. What I do with barbecues, and I think it's one of the best things, and I know my children absolutely love them, is I bake some potatoes. So if I've got a barbecue going on this evening, you want to enjoy the barbecue as well yourself. So in the morning, wrap up 6-8 very, very large potatoes, bake them off in the oven, in your tin foil, bake them off in the oven, then let them cool, and then just slice them into nice big slices. Just put some spice, put some herbs, some Cajun spice, whatever on those potatoes. Again, just baste them in a little bit of oil before and sit them on the barbecue. And you got the most wonderful product there. You've got a lovely, it's like a big, thick crisp.
Wow, sounds delicious.
Absolutely,
right. Colin,
absolutely lovely.
Thank you so much for your time today. Congratulations to you and your team as well, by the way, in the recent recognition of Harvey's Point through TripAdvisor, because of course what you do, it's behind the scenes an awful lot of the time, but it's all part of the experience. So fair play to you and your team there as well, and congratulations to all at the hotel. And we really appreciate your time this morning.
Much appreciated, Greg. Lovely talking.
Have a lovely day.
Much.
Take care. That's Colin Bradley there, Executive Head Chef at Harvey's Point, Loch Esk. So either A, you were never going to have a barbecue, B, you were, and now you've got some great advice to move forward with, or C, you've said stuff it, we'll do that this evening. Because you know what, the good thing about your local family butchers is that they often put on great deals, great packages of different types of meat. Now, I don't want to discourage anyone from going into other shops, but if you go into your big supermarket and you grab those burgers there and you grab that there and you get to the till, and next thing you know, you've spent 50 or 60 euro on meat. But you go into your local butcher, a lot of them have some great offers on batching various meats for a barbecue for much, much less than you might expect, and much less packaging as well. So if you are, and you don't already do it, certainly consider going into your local family butchers there on in your town or village, and see if they do any barbecue packages, which can make it much less expensive, but also too the meat's there fresh, sitting there in the shop ready to go. You don't know how long it's been in plastic packaging or what have you. Right, okay, I am absolutely starving now, and I've been sitting looking at the people at Donegal Hospice have brought this up, and for those of you who are watching, it's a choir, right? Which choir? Right, okay, brilliant. Well, the hospice did bring cakes as well. Okay, well, anyway, someone brought this in, and they did it in a beautiful gesture. But I'm starving, and it is a beautiful cupcake with this beautiful blue icing on the top, and I've been sitting looking at it, unable to eat it because I don't have the time, and it's absolute torture. If you're ever looking to get secrets out of someone, just sit them in front of that cupcake and tell them they can't eat it, because I've been looking at it now for 40 minutes, and I know in this ad break, if I start eating it, I'd just come back with it all over my face and I'd be choking on it, so it's going to have to wait till 12.
232, 3 simple numbers, but for Audi they signify more innovation and excitement. An invitation to experience progress you can feel, and a shift in mindset to greater expectations, like the competition edition on the Audi A4 and A5 S-Line models, all part of our 232 range. Discover how progress makes you feel in a 232 Audi and book a test drive today.
Mick Flavin, 50 years in country music show at the Mount Donegal Hotel Letterkenny on Monday the 12th of June, with special guests Philomena Begley, Ray Lynham, Declan Ernie, Shuni Crampsey and Patsy Kavanagh. Tickets now on sale from the Mount Donegal Hotel on 074 9122 700.
Are you looking to make a difference in your community? Your local daycare centre needs committee volunteers like you. Whether you have skills in administration, IT, finance or marketing, you can make a huge difference in the lives of the elderly in our community. Be part of your community's story. Contact DLDC on 074 91270056 to find out how you can help. This project is co-funded by the Government of Ireland and the European Union.
Rightio, we have time for some of your comments coming in so far this morning as we head towards the end of the programme. A caller says, how low can you get when you attack Ukrainians, refugees who do not want to be here and are victims of war, who are suffering grief, PTSD, uncertainty, depression, and some kids reporting suicide ideation? Please do blame poor government that you, and sadly most Irish people, have elected on every general election for the accommodation, health, justice and abuse crises. Insanity gone mad, re-electing them with all the crises they constantly mismanage and create. Time for a change, methinks. Long last. Thank God the world looked after Irish refugees from the famine, the civil war and the troubles, and also emigration. Greg is right. Ukrainians are not here for the fun of it. They're here for the money, says a listener there. Again, all I can do is be honest. And I've said it before, and is just that if I was there with my family in any of the cities that are regularly being targeted by missiles or drones, would I hang about? I can only ask myself this question honestly. Would I hang about or with the risk of a missile striking the property or whatever it might be, or soldiers just coming up the driveway with their guns out, would I hang around or would I get out of there? And the honest answer, if I ask myself that honestly, I would do anything to protect my children, which means I would take what I can and leave. Maybe I'm a chicken, I don't know, but that's what I would do. And that's the only way I can put myself in their position. Now, of course, that comment was directed directly towards Ukrainians, and that's why I gave that example. Then someone else might say, yes, but that's them. But what about these people? And I don't know necessarily enough of what's going on in that area, but I can only certainly say what I would do if I was in a place and I thought my family were under threat. A massive thank you to the crew at Biddy's of Barnes who served up lovely food when we stopped off there yesterday on a bus trip. Yeah, indeed. It's a lovely wee spot, Biddy's. I haven't been there for years since the new guys took over. We called in there and didn't have, I think I had a sandwich and there was soup there, I don't know. But anyway, it was just a nice setting. Hi, this is a text for the man who put 3 bags of his household rubbish into the community bin at the Cathedral car park in Letterkenny. This includes a glass bottle. Shame on you. There are glass recyclable bins everywhere in Letterkenny town. No need for it. Hi, when I was putting my application in, this is for the redress scheme, to the County Council through the appointed facilitator, one of the questions was, do we agree to pay back any money you get over and above what the government allocated you? I worry this would include Coleman Legal. Thank you. Well, Gary, isn't it? It is. No, I've just had a memory outage there. But anyway, the wording he said is a little, Dave, the wording he says is a little, can be a little confusing. Could I just make the point that privately owned property landlords can do whatever they like with their properties? Government and county councils need to stop building and stop endless expensive HAP payments, which ultimately is taxpayers' money. Okay, listen, that's where we have to leave it on the show today. Thank you to all of you who listened to the show and took part, and for those of you who watched it. We're back with you tomorrow morning at 9. Thanks to the team, Caroline Orr, who researched and produced, assisted by Niamh. We'll be back, as I mentioned, at 9. Stay tuned. John Bresson's coming up around the Northwest.
The Northwest Opera returned to